Yeah, I'm broken. Head down to my toes. Yeah, I'm broken. Wallet to my soul. Yeah, I'm broken. Yeah, yeah.
What's going on? We made it.
Once again, another glorious day full of adventure, terror, drama, romance. Everything you could want in a day. Once again will be ours.
Man, I can't tell whether that's an epic or a horror movie, right? And like if it was over a long time scale, that'd be like an epic. But over a short time scale, it's a
Is a
horror.
total and a cheesy B horror flick at that too. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
really good of
yeah,
art, but yeah.
yeah. Bikinis and water monsters.
Totally, dude. Totally. Oh, the TNA horror movie.
Yeah. Paul Mooney had a joke about how Hollywood doesn't care about women. You see what they have you do? They have you like have sex with like animals and shit. How you gonna let them do that to you? Don't you know what that does to your brain?
That's
They don't care about you.
yeah,
You need to get control over how they portray you in movies,
that's fair. That's
right?
totally fair. That observation
Yeah.
is on point.
I just every morning I never know if I'm gonna do this again.
Ha! 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 That's awesome, dude. 'Cause
That's-
you're like Twitter, fuck you, Twitter.
you know what,
I'm all set with you.
right?
Twitter. You can get fucked.
And then it's like, well, I am editing the Mr. Raj episode because Mr. Raj has a crazy story about growing up on a ranch, and then he was like 315 pounds, 6'5", and then he goes from that to back injury to, you know what I mean? So I just
Mm-hmm.
edited it up. It's about 15 minutes, I think.
Dude, you know, I
And
mean, so many people have. If you get down to it,
dude, not so many people. Every single one.
yeah,
Every single one does. I'm telling you,
yes,
right? And just because they're not hitting home runs doesn't mean they don't know how to swim. You know
yes,
that
dude,
kind of shit.
yeah. Or to stick with the analogy, doesn't mean they don't know how to swing, right? Like,
You might be John Olerud, the master of base hits. You know.
yeah, there you go. I like that master of base. I wonder what John Oliver would think about that if he heard master of base hits. I can just imagine the response now. But
John Olerud when because you're gonna like I'm from Toronto, right? So
oh
'92 when I
shit,
was 12
right?
years old, we're winning the World Series, dude. Right? So it was crazy. Yeah, John Olerud, master of the base hit. Right?
Oh
He
wait,
could never. Yeah.
John Oliver, the baseball player.
No, John Olerud.
Oliver. I thought you were saying John Oliver, as in
No,
the.
I don't think he can swing. He doesn't look like he could get on base.
Yeah, I'm
That
like,
guy.
well, because I was parodying his
Yeah, maybe if it was
comedy.
cricket.
I was
Yeah.
parodying his comedy to base hits.
Oh, yeah. I
I
don't think
thought.
he. I think he gets. I think he gets tagged out by the pitcher these days, dude. All of you know how. Like I don't get depressed by much. Well, maybe I get depressed by everything. I just handle it better. Um, the seeing comedy turn into like whatever they're doing now, it's like a weird matrix.
Hmm. How do you? What are your thoughts on it? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like this is the evolution of comedy, or do you feel like, God damn it, what are they doing?
It's it's not to be unexpected when you look at the blockchain world, right? Rugs are going to happen, right? But when a project gets rugged but it's still going, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay.
these are like imagine what a VC sponsored comedian would sound like.
Oof. Oof. I. I mean, like, I'm going back and forth in my head just on the basics. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? I feel like there's some potential there. Like, could that actually be good? Maybe.
It's almost like the worst thing is. It's almost like when you look at it, you kind of feel like Kappa. It's like, man, the money is the worst thing that ever happened to these motherfuckers, right?
Hmm.
Because now you're just like a marketing arm for Coke,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But people remember you from when you were. It's almost like people hold hold on to the idea of you that you started off as,
Yes.
right? And then
Yes.
slowly over years, they have to re-reconcile.
Howard Stern, Joe Rogan.
Everyone,
Yeah.
right? And the thing is, like, I am a big Joe Rogan fan,
Right. Me too.
right? And that's taboo, and that'll get you. You know, that's like wearing a MAGA hat these days, eh?
Is it really? I haven't
It
been
cut,
keeping up. Is it really?
when you tell people that you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast from time to time, they'll think you're wearing a MAGA hat. I'll tell you that right now. There
Oh
are people
wow.
that saying that Joe Rogan is the new Donald Trump.
Really?
Okay. Dude, it's just because like people need drama in their lives, so they reach for superlatives. Oh man, that was the best pizza bun I ever had, and it's like best in pizza bun. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's the best, but in the gradation of tastes, you know what I mean? It's still
Yeah. Yeah.
so. It's kind of one of those things where uh, I'm just glad that we can create a space for our own
Mm-hmm.
type of shit. You know?
Well, what I think is really fun is having the one-on-one conversations like this and just riffing, just talking, just shooting the shit, right? And then you get that random person that joins that or known person with a random conversation. And it's like it takes away the potential for it to get repetitive or old. Like you and I can talk for a while and not get bored,
Hmm.
right? But
Exactly. Yeah, and there's always
eventually,
that point. Yeah.
yeah, eventually there's going to be like, oh, yeah, yeah, I've heard this story before. Oh, yeah, 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 I've heard that story before.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you got like the greatest hits. It's like two
Mm-hmm.
comedians telling each other their set.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I went to the college Elon graduated from.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get
and
it.
then the
I
guy
get
fell down. Yeah, 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 and then you were really in court. Oh yeah, 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 but yeah, you're really in court in space. Oh yeah, yeah, but if you zoomed out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And here's the thing: the only person I invited uh, was Mr. Raj, right? And so I've been doing this experiment just to see what happens if I don't advertise a space. We'll just see what happens. No advertising, zero advertising, just fucking open the space,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
And sometimes it's Mr. Raj, sometimes it's, you know what I mean? Like it's always different people.
sure.
And, um, you know, I've been talking to Dan for a while about the whole syndicate idea. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, like, because we're doing it in real time, like we're talking about the idea, then somebody will pop up, be a troll, be like, "Oh shit, maybe that's a part of the show,"
Right.
right? It's like having a business meeting and then having the client walk in and look at the whiteboard and be like, "I hate that." And you're like, "Why do you hate it?" Well, because of this. What if you turn it upside down? Oh, I like that. Hey guys, turn it upside down next time, right? And like the person you're telling is like right over there in the room. It's this crazy. I don't think people understand the true power of product development with user feedback and prototyping that exists here.
You're probably right. Most people just don't. Most people haven't seen that or experienced it firsthand. They may have seen a movie or listened to a show host or been exposed in some light fashion, but it's rare that people actually think about, consciously apply themselves to thinking about this stuff. It's not the norm. Most people are too caught up in all the other things going on in life. I mean,
Mhm.
dude, I'm either like right now, I'm downloading documents to a file, right? It's not hard, but my attention is split for sure. Um, But if it's not
and that's
this,
okay, right?
right?
Like I think the Google Venture Design Sprint Master I worked with, he called it working alone together,
Ah, that's awesome.
right? Where you
I
just
really like
needed to
that.
be in the presence of someone else to not go fucking insane, but you didn't
Yes.
interrupt each other,
Yeah,
right? You know, and then every 90 minutes he'd be like, "All right, so you want another coffee? All right."
totally. Totally. Dude, I feel like that's part of the push behind the return to the office spiel. On one hand, it's just they want to be able to be there to say, hey, get back to work, right? It's the slave master mentality. But
I
really,
want
but
to
on
be
the
able to see all of my cattle working.
yeah,
Are you grazing?
yeah,
Hey, get away from that
yes,
river.
yes, yes. But um, there is also just the like, hey, can we all get together and do some work together? That'd be kind of fun, right? Can we do that?
Hey,
Like,
is it possible that there are some people who do better with voice? You know, like it's so
oh yes,
so I
oh yeah.
so I see this, like, especially the autists in the audience, right? Which might be
Mm,
myself included, right?
mm-hmm.
And so I think I get the return to work push, right? People look at Elon Musk and they say like, "Oh, he's forcing people to return back to work." Well, he runs factories.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they need
Yeah.
to put their hands on a car. He doesn't run an office, right?
Emails only get you so far.
Yeah, sometimes someone's going to have to cut some sheet metal at some point for the Cybertruck,
Mm-hmm.
and until we get the Apple AR glasses with the
I was just about to say with the
with the
haptic
haptic
control.
touch, can you imagine in the
Yep.
future you'll never have to have anyone in the plant itself?
Told dude. It's just gonna be
We're
people
almost there,
operating robots
dude.
from
Like
their home.
Daniel works at Tesla, right? Like I see him punching things into numbers, and on the other side of the glasses is massive, fucking robot arms. It's like he's basically like a low level Doctor Octopus,
Yeah, that's awesome. Low level Dr. Octopus.
right?
That's
It's like, so what do
that's
you have to
great.
do? I have to get this within 5 microns. I'm like, how the fuck do you shave off a micron? Do you blow on it?
Mhm.
Right? Do you think about it? Like, what do you do? Ah, oh, we blew too hard. It's now too small. Start again. Right?
I always enjoy I always enjoy bringing up the phrasing for people that know zero tolerance.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's a myth. You never actually get zero tolerance.
No, it's always it's
A
standard
one
deviation.
millionth of a
Yeah,
micron off, or
yeah.
yeah, some
It's an asymptote. Yeah,
yeah. Well, the atoms didn't align themselves correctly, so we missed our mark on that one.
yeah. Here are the
Um,
limits: plus, minus, infinity.
yeah, and I enjoy just dropping zero limits on people that are, especially when they're machinists, like they're actual like current day
Mm-hmm.
factory machine that are running a machine that's producing the widget.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
enjoy
Daniel was working
that's
on like landing gear. I'm like, so like, how do you get the micron off? He's like, so that at that point, it's more about material science.
mm-hmm.
Right? And what is it going to be like when it's heated? What is it going to be like when it's cooled? What is it going to be like hot, cold, hot, cold? Like, it's crazy. And just to make like a bolt, right? You know what I mean? We just need a bolt. Oh, where's the bolt going? Oh, in the landing gear. Ah, fuck. All right, let's think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we shouldn't use a 3D printer. I'm not sure if these rubber threads are gonna cut it. Unless we do the airship, the nuclear air. Oh man, Mason.
What about
That's up.
oh, is Mason here? Oh, what's up, Mason?
You guys aren't using your radio voices this morning. What's up there, DJ and Conversations?
We're just
It's just us. It's like a pre-show. right?
You
And
guys
then when
want a
people
good
come in,
you guys want a
I'm
good
sorry.
example?
Yeah.
You want a good example of hardcore engineering? Look at the old the jet surveillance plane, the SR-71.
Mm.
Like literally, they had to put very very tiny tanks of fuel into that machine. It had to take off on the runway and get up to height and then fuel in the air. Because if
Yeah.
you fueled the SR-71 on the ground, all of the fuel would spill out because of the heat that that thing produced. So when the engines and the jet got all heated up, that's when the fuel tanks would seal themselves. On the ground when it's cold, there's holes in the fucking plane.
That's awesome. So kind of like a Porsche, where the harder you drive it, the tighter it gets. Right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. What are you guys talking about other than that? Engineering shit?
Oh no, we're
Rubber
literally
screwdriver?
just shooting the shit, man. Just saying hi, shooting the shit, talking about social dynamics to a point. Just it's Friday, man. Just kicking back and just chit chatting and chilling. Yeah.
I was looking up that plane. I just put at the top, the SR-71. There's a black project? That's crazy.
Yeah, that was quite a machine.
2-seat cockpit. Oh, for reconnaissance, yeah.
Look at the top speed of that thing.
Remember that? It's been passed around so much, but it's like pilot is kind of telling traffic control, "Hey, I'm going to be going pretty fast. Watch out, I'm going fast." And then another guy's like, "Oh, you think that's fast?" And he radios in that he's going to be going Mach 1 or whatever. And then there's like an SR-71 Blackbird in high altitude. Gentlemen, I'm about to rock your world. And going supersonic, you know what I mean? Have you guys ever seen that? It's like a whole story
Of what?
of the airplane pilots or the pilots bragging on their radio channels about how fast they're going.
Oh.
Right. Yeah. This I'm reading this now, and I think it said excess of Mach 3.5 on an operational sortie while evading a missile over Libya.
Operational at 3.5.
What does that mean?
Well, that's just like cruising speed, so other missiles can't catch it. So if you launch a missile at the SR-71 doing Mach 3.5, your missile is not doing Mach
Anything,
3.5 or 3.7,
right?
right? The SR-71, they say it was capable up to Mach 4, Mach 5. It would cross the Atlantic Ocean in fucking no time, man. Like 25 minutes, 30 minutes probably.
Yeah, and once what's funny? Generally, I find that when I talk to military folks, it makes talking to civilians in the same industry kind of like talking to children. Like if you talk like to like an actual coder, like we talked to Dr. Wetzel and we talked to Ken Granville, talking to them, it makes talking to other people in the industry seem like children.
Just for their proper use of vernacular.
No, it's just like there's all of this, like for example, the SR-71, that's a black project, right? So highly classified, right? And so when you realize that you're talking to someone who can only give you a piece of their mind,
Mm,
and that piece is better than, you know what I mean? Everything
right.
you've ever heard, because they're actually like people think that they have high stakes in their life, right? They're like, oh man, if I don't do this, client's going to be upset.
Mhm, mhm.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
no.
Oh, the client's going to be upset? Really?
Hmm.
Yeah. The stakes are totally different,
That's
right?
fair. That's fair.
You know?
And there's so many layers to that too, because you go from looking at the fast food worker who's frustrated dealing with people not liking their French fries, and they just give them more French fries and the problem solved, to, oh no, you didn't close on the purchase of your home. Oh no, to some people that's life changing and traumatic, but to others it's like, hey, you're just buying a fucking home. It's not a big deal. I got this $3 billion fucking airplane sitting here, and if someone uses the wrong wrench, the whole thing is fucked. So, do you want to talk about
Yeah.
pressure?
Yeah. It's and you know what? It was talking really to Zach that made me actually look into this stuff. Be like, okay. So Zach was like, hey, you should check out the military decision making process. I'm like, okay. And then I looked at the 200-page document. I'm like, oh fuck. And then it links to like 5 other things. And then Zach pointed me in the direction of the Red Book. And he's like, the Red Book is for like tactical, if you have like, if the military decision making process is like the waterfall, the Red Book is like the agile on the ground in the moment. Hey, Zach, you can probably explain better than me. We're talking about the fact that when I speak to people in software development with a military background, their level of expertise seems so much deeper than those in just regular maybe banking. No offense to the banking folks. Well, maybe a little bit of offense to the banking folks. But I think it just either because the stakes are so high. At the same time, just a general statement, I think everyone feels maybe the same emotional stakes. Like for that person at McDonald's, those emotional stakes are very high, right? Because if they get fired because they don't give the person fries, that might mean their rent. But you know what I mean? There's always levels. What's going on, Zach?
Well, part of it is I just think that I don't know if I've told you my theory on the intro training, like the shark attack.
Okay,
and the
tell me.
fear response.
No,
So,
never before.
so one of the chapters in the book that I'm writing is called like the shark attack. So at basic training, when you show up, the first day when you get there, I mean, you're scared shitless already, but then all of a sudden, like, all the drill sergeants swarm and they start screaming at you, and they scream at you, and they scream at you. It's like 3 of them, and you're trying to figure out which one you're supposed to listen to. Like, you turn your head and you get screamed at louder, and then they yell, go, 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 and you just go and do whatever it is that you feel like you're supposed to do. And if you're wrong, they come over and they yell at you again. And if you're right, they kind of move on to somebody else. And that happens like over and over and over again. And then they'll come in and wake you up in the morning, and they'll just start screaming and throwing trash cans, and doing all this crazy shit in the middle of the morning. And you're just like, oh my God, it's like 3 a.m. And you just make a decision, get dressed, and like go, just based on like kind of instinct. And I think what happens, and what I talk about in my book is the fear cascade of chemicals in your brain. It's supposed to be predictable. It's supposed to be you freeze first, then you want to run away, and then if all other options are off the table, then you choose to fight and take action. And what this process does in basic training is it makes taking action become your initial response to fear. And what you learn through this is that if you take action first, right? If you take a couple steps, if you just make enough of a movement in the right direction, your decision making in those moments, you can train and learn. And so I write in my book, an example is like when I first started at basic training and I was like running and going, I didn't realize that the reason they were just kept fucking with me was I was in the wrong line. And at one point I just kind of like out of my peripheral vision, like saw everyone in this line had green tape on their bag and I had blue. And that blue tape was dictating what group you were supposed to be in. And so then I learned, like, okay, look for the blue tape. And so I quickly started to take action first, get to a point where you have, like, stabilized. It's the same thing with EMTs, right? An EMT comes up on a scene, they stabilize the patient first. They're not looking for dramatic issues or traumas. They're trying to stabilize the person first to get them to higher levels of care. The same thing in the Army is we teach and we train this mindset of act first, don't do damage, but take action, get to a place where you decisions and gain more info. We do other things like, I have a whole chapter called Recon by Fire, which, the Afghan, people, and, the Al-Qaeda and all of those groups used pretty effectively is they would just kind of take pop shots at you. It wasn't like they were trying to engage you. They would just take pop shots at you and try to get you to show, hey, this is where all my machine guns are at. This is where my mortars are located, right? By being willing to sacrifice a small number of effort, right? Small group of individuals taking pop shots, the larger organization was able to gain strategic intel. And so these are all things that the military, you learn and you inherently make a part of you, is making these big decisions and taking action and doing these things under pressure and through fear. And you kind of internalize this as part of your physiology, which is a change that only happens after you've kind of gone through that training and served, and gone through the military's kind of mindset shift. And then stack on top of that the frameworks that we have in doctrine of the military decision-making process, the rapid decision-making and synchronization process, TLPs and all of those ways of framing it more structured. It really creates someone that's able to react and make decisions, good decisions, rapidly, because they're learning quickly and they're learning through action instead of pausing and having to do this long planning process and waiting for conditions to be perfect. We're able to set standards of what's minimum conditions set, what is it that I need to do to get there, things of that nature.
It's kind of like it's very information oriented, right? How do we, and I find these same things with startups, which is they want to have something perfect, but it's like, you don't know enough about the system or the space that you're in to be making all of these claims about how things actually are.
Well, and I think on top of it, most of them, most people, when they're doing startups or they're coming up with an idea, they're too afraid that someone's going to come and scoop it or someone's going to steal their ideas, so they don't go out there, take action, and just fucking launch, or be willing to come into groups like these and just say, this is my fucking idea, what do you guys think? Because I hear all the time in Twitter spaces is someone will come in and be like, well, I really need some help, but I really don't want to tell anyone because the idea is just, it's so massive, it's so incredible, and it's so great. And I'm like, okay, well, tell us if it's that big and if it's that great, and if you are the founder to solve this fucking problem, no one's going to be able to steal it. And if they can, then it's not really that big of a problem. A lot of people who come up with products don't want to tell people that about their product because they're afraid someone's going to steal it. Well, yeah, you'll make $1 million on QVC, but you're never going to make $10 million because someone's going to fucking snake your idea and sell it for cheaper. It's just the way it happens. You have to realize that if you are the perfect, if it really is the coup d'etat of startups for you, you have such a tactical and strategic advantage that no one's going to be able to snake it from you. I don't have any problem telling people what I'm building at Win the War and what my thought process is, because I doubt that people have been able to make the types of connections and build the network and find the best NCOs in the military who are still active duty to leverage and pair them with companies to give new startup founders that strategic and tactical advantage that the Amazons and IBMs of the world have been leveraging for years, hiring high-cost colonels and majors and generals to be on their board and to be strategic and tactical and leadership consultants for them. And that's what I'm trying to build to give that advantage to everyone.
It's interesting too because we think that this is a nice to have. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if we added the military decision? And it's like we don't realize if you just looked at the most powerful cybersecurity startups on the planet, look who's behind those, especially those in the US. You know, I talked to a guy who was ex Israel military, and he says the Israel military is graduating, I think, what do you say, 2,000 cybersecurity experts or like practitioners at least, you know, every year. And if they could, they would double and triple that. And so if you look at, he said, just look at the corporations in the US like Paladin and look who's behind those companies. The only reason that they're in the US is because, you know, for incorporation purposes or whatever. But these are Israeli startups, and they're startups that are driven by the military. It's really eye opening.
Well, I mean, you got to think about just over the years the technical advancements that have been made from just military science, military thinking, right? From DARPA, right? Like DARPA's given us so much of what we consider part of our civilian lives, and people don't even realize it. And that all comes from.
Can you remind them? Because I don't think they understand what one, DARPA is, and two, that DARPA might have been behind things like TCP/IP and things like that. Can you remind them what DARPA is and why?
Let's take it basic. The DARPA, the original DARPA, like I think idea, like stemmed some of the things way back when of like the microwave oven, like it's essentially this giant military and government grant. I would say grant, but it's this government program where they will give new startups and companies tons of money, like ridiculous amounts of money, if they're coming up with something that could have military applications. Like the microwave oven was thought of as trying to build a weapon, and it ended up the guy who created it with the government then saw the application of, hey, we could use this to make popcorn, like because his corn kernels were close to it and they started popping into this thing that he could eat. So like there's the government is willing to throw tons of money at people who just on a whim have some sort of idea that could, not even that it will, but could have some application in the defense of the nation. And that's the thing is like they're willing to just lose so much money on the hopes that the next big thing is found in corporate America.
So wait a minute. Is DARPA like the mission critical venture capitalist?
Really it is. It's like they will go if you can get in front of someone at DARPA. I mean, I think that most of DARPA has lost like I mean, I think 99% of DARPA has lost money and not fielded anything. But like, you know, the A-10, the idea of like building a plane around this giant minigun, that all came from like that kind of, hey, we have this really crazy idea that could help the military. Like, is this room being okay? It's being recorded, so let me choose my words carefully. There's a mortar system currently. The U.S. military. You can Google this. The U.S. military just provided a type of drone mortar system to Ukraine that has some capabilities that have never been employed, which all came from this kind of like, hey, we have this crazy idea. We just need to fund it to try to make it happen, and that's what these like government agencies, not really an agency, but yeah, it essentially VC for crazy military ideas does is it gives people funding to try and make these things like unmanned drones and all of these other things. And so,
hey, Casey, you know that DARPA invented the internet?
I still don't really get this. No, I'm just going to say no.
19,
I've heard that before, but I'm going
1960
to say
something,
no.
I think. 1960 something. DARPA called it the ARPANET, right?
It was ARPANET, and then with
Yeah.
Vince Cerf and Bob Kahn, they implemented TCP/IP.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
I put it to the top.
What was their name for it? Some sort of intergalactic computer network or something?
Sounds
What?
like Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Intergalactic.
They called it the
See,
intergalactic
this is just
computer
an
network.
example of fact bullying. When you can get 2 or 3 people who all are aligned on the one supposed fact, you can then present the fact to a would-be unknown person and state the fact is true. Because clearly, Zach, you seem like a nice guy. But did you know the Build-A-Bear actually invented the cell phone? Not the cell phone as we know it, it was invented before, but the actual agnostic touch between surface and skin is not unlike that touching the bear's nose. This is a technology that Build-A-Bear actually fostered and put into place years before the 5th regression. Casey and I talk about the
Could you
4th
point
regression a
to the
lot, but we
bear?
got on that.
Can you point to the bear and tell me where the bad man touched you?
Absolutely. It's right between it's kind of the thigh gap. Every bear has a somewhat debatable thigh gap, and it's in that area.
All right.
Haptic
This
response.
this is the SquareSpace Degen
DARPA.
conversations in a broadcaster voice.
DARPA invented
Good
shit like
morning.
fucking GPS and crap. Fuck.
I heard a story about I think it was Raytheon, and the guy was like, he had a chocolate bar in his pocket, and the chocolate bar melted, and he's like, "Wait a minute, why is my chocolate bar melting? Is this thing giving off heat? Wait a minute." Right? And they just looked at this box. They're like, "Okay, so we had this box, and it was going to use to do things to the bad people, but it is the same size as something you could just put on your shelf."
Lockheed Martin, a $44 billion, trillion-dollar corporation known for killing people all over the world. But did you know that Lockheed Martin also in 1984 made the best goddamn bread maker on the planet? The TXD9G1C was the first cold fusion-based bread maker. It was $4,000. Marketing loved it. Until KC, one of the members of the city council, came in and dismantled the project. Let me guess. Cooks white bread only? Fuck you. And he left.
Oh, that was great, dude.
That was actually pretty good on the fly there.
Yeah.
And you know
Yeah.
what? I think what it is you're building a muscle.
I really am. I actually did a really great piece this morning about
Awesome.
KC.
Oh,
Because
no.
KC is like a universal phrase now. He's like a character I pull into stories.
Yes.
I have to edit it and upload it, but it's
I
quite hilarious.
think I'm going to submit to you that the album is you telling tall tales about the people in the space. So, for example, what would the tall tale about Zach be? What was Zach's Metal Gear Solid background?
Well, all right, I'm going to give you the quick 4-minute version before the call. So let's see. Let's read his profile. Okay, got it. Do we have a Zach last name here? Just Zach. All right, we'll go with Zach. Zachary Smith Samuel III. Chief. My brother was in the Navy. I can't say that word right. Chief Petty Officer, First Class. Dishonorable discharge. On the wake of that morning, June 16th, 2017, Zach woke up and performed what he thought would be his average duties. The notion of testing new laser sight operational existence on the hens on the farm was working as planned. Chickens were moving. Tyson wanted to do some weaponization and broaden into new extreme areas. Zach was brought in to teach the hens logistics and leadership. Had a hard time working with the roosters. They were really cocky and largely didn't want to listen to him. He recommended most of those for termination. He then proceeded to work with the hens directly. Zach would often come back and tell the leadership team, guys, these chickens are like working. You're not working with them. You are either part of the flock, or remember what I said, you're in the stock. Do you want to be in the pit? Do you want to be in the bowl? Or do you want to be out there marching? Zach was great. And then, I don't know, got caught for that insider training. because they were splitting up the 6-piece tender pack and basically trying to make a 6-piece tender pack, but only have 3 pieces in it. And Zach was actually behind a lot of the leadership marketing on that to sort of still sell chicken tenders to the American people, but remind us that even one tender is like a tenders, and that's not true. But yeah, that's as far as I got on that one.
It turned out that the way that Zach turned 3 chicken tenders into 6 was the
3
King
fishes in the
Solomon.
loaves. You were going to
It
the
was
fishes
from
and loaves.
the King Solomon method of parting of the chicken tenders, and when people found out, they were naturally up in arms. But by that time, shrinkflation had already brought other vendors of chicken 6-packs into his size dimension, and so he was able to reap all the benefit while the market declined into his offering.
Talking about shrimpflation, my wife and I went to New Hampshire, and I got a shrimp cocktail, and the size of jumbo shrimp is going down. People, I would just like to point that out. So shrimpflation is real, but it's shrimpflation inversion.
Shrimpflation.
It's inversion inflation. The jumbo shrimp are getting bigger; they're getting smaller. You're getting gypped on the jumbo shrimp, people.
Or they're going to call it like Geiger shrimp, right? But it'll actually be smaller.
They're just gonna call it normal size shrimp, and the oxymoronic jumbo shrimp will be gone. But I gotta run. It was a pleasure being here. I gotta get ready.
All love.
Be good, Zach. Have a good one.
Yeah. I'll keep jumping in. I enjoy these spaces, and I feel like I get to, impart some sort of wisdom or just get made fun of. Either way,
we do really appreciate it every time you come in. It's great. I love it.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate the perfidious gobbledygook.
I'm changing my profile right now to say Professor Perfidious Gobbledygook. Perfidious Gobbledygook.
The
That is
doctrine
awesome.
of Perfidious Gobbledygook.
Could you just send me that so I can spell it right?
I think if you spell it wrong, it's even better.
Right?
Right,
just like it sounds.
Perfidious.
Perfidious.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's not spelled.
I think the singular is perfidia, right?
Perfidii.
I was about to say.
Right, yep, absolutely.
Or perfidious. When you're talking about perfidiisms.
Is it per or?
Per.
Okay. Okay, perfidious.
Not pro.
No.
Antifidious? All right.
Subvidious. You can use all the prefaces you want.
Gook.
And the part of the conversation earlier when they were talking, he was talking about like people go on Twitter Spaces and they say, "Oh, I don't want to disclose this awesome idea I've got." I think basically yes, the general idea is right that if you really have something, the product itself, you'll be fine. Go ahead and talk. But what I do see is a somewhat, in my eyes, kind of perverse, twisted marketing that will take one's idea and rebrand it and maybe twist it a little bit and send it back out as a social media marketing attempt.
That's the conspiracy theory about incubators.
About incubators?
Yeah. So how you have all of these software development shops and be like, hey, you bring your idea and we'll help you develop it, right?
Okay.
So here's the dark version of Dan. Dan had a perfect idea. He had no ideas, but had a bunch of people in Romania. And what he decided to do is attract the ideas and then, through a separate company in Ukraine, build those ideas and then incorporate them in Canada, right? So that would be the dark version of Dan, right? And to a certain extent, that does happen. There are incubators that take in ideas, have pitch competitions. Oh, that's a great pitch. Great idea. Here's $5,000. Oh, you don't get anywhere with it? That's fine. We really like the idea and we want more equity, so we're just going to build it ourselves through a different company that you never heard of. And we're going to call it something different. Thanks a lot for the idea, though. Hope you enjoyed the $5,000.
Like, that's not a feel good. I don't feel good about that.
Nope, nope. But I think to Zach's point, a lot of people had. If you look at Tesla, like Elon Musk wrote a master plan and he posted it on the website. He's like, "This is our plan. Gonna build an electric car, make it really expensive. Then we're gonna build another one, it won't be so expensive. And then we're gonna use all those profits and build the least expensive car, which is still kind of expensive, but not as expensive as it could have been, right?" And then when he did that, then he wrote master plan number 2. And you can look it up, Tesla master plan. It's right there. It's astonishingly clear, actually, right?
Really?
And you look at it, oh, dude, hold on, let me post it at the top. Tesla
Well,
master plan.
can you give me the nutshell on the number 2?
Yes, Tesla master plan part 2. Elon Musk, July 20th, 2016. The first master plan that I wrote 10 years ago is now in the final stages of completion. It wasn't all that complicated and basically consisted of 1, create a low volume car, which would necessarily be expensive. Use that money to develop a medium volume car at a lower price. And use that money to create an affordable high volume car. And finally, provide solar power. No kidding. This has been our website for 10 years, right? The reason that we had to start off with step 1 was that it was all I could afford to do with what I made from PayPal, right? So, blah, 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 blah. And so this is the master plan. So now he's talking about master plan 2. So integrate energy generation and storage, expand to cover the major forms of terrestrial transport, autonomy, sharing. So in short, master plan part 2 is 1, creating stunning solar roofs with seamlessly integrated battery storage.
Mm-hmm.
Expand the electric vehicle product line to address all major segments. Develop a self-driving capability that is 10 times safer than manual via massive fleet learning. And finally, enable your car to make money for you when you aren't using it.
Ooh. Watching or looking at the articles of people using their vehicles. Well, I don't know if it was a Tesla, but the idea was that you're going to be using your vehicle to mine as it was sitting in your driveway or garage charging. Much less being able to actually rent it out to somebody who needed to use it. That's
Yeah, I
pretty.
mean, yeah, I could see a world where if you wanted a car, you walked outside. Maybe
Yeah.
you walked down the block, right? And you
Yeah.
stepped into a car. Like in
Just go to
Toronto, they have
Greenland,
it.
go to Greenland or Iceland, to small villages. They have fleets of cars you rent a subscription to. Even Nelson, British Columbia, where I have my house, Casey,
Mm-hmm.
right? That town has car rides, share rides, and you just can pay a subscription online. You walk up the street, grab the key, get in the car,
I mean,
drive.
conceptually, it's, or look at the bike shares,
Yeah.
like right, same basic idea, and that idea has been around for a long time.
Iceland, Greenland, you get in the car, drive it to the gas station, drive it to the grocery store, drive it wherever you need to go around town, drop it back off. Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, here in Austin, they have programs like that. They have Zip Car and Car to Go, and you just use your phone to unlock the vehicle. You get in, you drop it off wherever you're at, and then someone else can use it. Kind of like a kind of like a Lime scooter, but for vehicles. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, aren't those scooters in large cities like that? You can get on a scooter, drive it wherever the fuck you want all day long, and then just get off and leave it, kind of shit.
Yeah.
And somebody goes around with a van, picks it up, recharges it, sets it back up again, and the next day off they go.
Yeah, fuck those scooters. Those scooters are a pain in the ass. I hate those fucking things, bro. Fuck them.
We have the same thing with like Segways here and bicycles, and it's a trip, man. They're just scattered all over the place, basically.
There's nothing wrong with any of these vehicular traffics at all. It's the people driving them that are fucking idiots.
No, it's not that. It's just that like like the Lime people, they take like zero responsibility for like the scooters being thrown in the fucking rivers and creeks, and like they don't go and retrieve them, and it's just a, it's just not good for the environment. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to be throwing freaking scooters in there with lithium-ion batteries. They can fuck up the fish and all that
Dude,
stuff.
have you
So
been following the solid state battery advancement, by the way?
Not solid state. I've been looking at crystal and
Dude, go
organic.
Google, yeah, those are super cool. But the solid state
What's it made
is,
of?
fuck if I know.
Well, it's
I don't,
solid, so it should be easy.
yeah,
Solid materials on the planet.
yeah, but solid state is coming along pretty fast, it seems. The number of articles pumping it is increasing.
I remember my dad showing me his new stereo in the 70s, and he was pointing at the words solid state. He was like, yeah, that's class.
I
yeah,
worry.
they're also working on. Have you looked at Plug Power? Have you ever looked at a company called Plug Power?
No.
So they're manufacturing hydrogen fuel cells. The only thing is that they already have like the technology and everything in place, but they just need like an application or somewhere to be able to actually use it.
Vancouver City buses are running on hydrogen. Not all of them, but they already have their hydrogen set up. And there's one of the world's or countries or North America's largest hydrogen production plants in Vancouver, and it was all set up on private
Yeah,
company.
that's the thing that they're running into. Like, how do you like once you're once the fuel cell's done, like how do you make something that's easily detachable that you can take out and swap it for another fuel cell like on the go? You know what I mean? Versus having to have something, you go somewhere and they fill you up.
Well,
Okay. I mean,
water.
that's interesting. Yeah.
You could, if you just want to get down to the brass knuckles, it's basically just the destruction of water.
Yeah, but it's probably going to have to be like a highly.
Oh no, for sure. Like the buses in Vancouver and stuff, they'll just take the whole pack off the top and just replace it. Right? It's like a.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like for vehicles, how do we make that as consumer friendly as possible? Versus needing a technician to take the battery off the top of it and put a new one.
Well,
You know what I mean?
think of propane tanks for your barbecue. At one day we didn't have them, and then people were freaking out because they were putting propane tanks in their car, and now everybody's got. Is it safe? Not any safer than it was in fucking 60s.
Well, I mean, they still use that in backhoes and skid steers and stuff like that. So that's not really that much of an issue. I guess you just have to be a little bit more mechanically inclined or have like some sort of quick disconnect.
I find the word backhoe a little problematic. Thanks. What do they call it? Point of.
It's a fucking backhoe. Get over it.
How dare you? We're trying to be progressive here. Backhoe has a lot of history.
What does the term backhoe mean to you, Mike?
They are women to be respected.
Yeah,
And they do gardening very well. Right? Those are ladies of the night and gardeners during the day. These backhoes. And I think they deserve our respect.
Your mom was a backhoe.
Backhoe?
Your mother was a backhoe, your father was a dozer.
I identify as a dump truck.
Technically, my family farmed rice in Guyana, so it's not that far off.
And this is the SquareSpace. Degen conversations in a broadcaster voice. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. What's up, Mr. Rogers?
What's up, Brian? Where'd you
Brian's
come from?
here. Laskoshi, Super Mario, Knight. Welcome.
Yeah, since Knight showed up with that PFP, all I can have is that theme song running through my head.
Dude, for real. Every time he pops into a space, man.
Dude, you know what's cool is they actually made a updated version of the car. It was like the newer like Pontiac had an unveiling at the it was like an auto show, and they had the Knight Rider vehicle in there, the Pontiac that they had with the lights and everything. It looked freaking sick.
Really? Dude, that'd
Yeah,
be
dude,
that'd be
it was badass.
that'd be a pretty fun remake, or what do they call it when they bring him back?
A reboot?
Yeah, a reboot. Thanks. Yeah.
They tried it. They tried a reboot. It was horrible. Go look at the Knight Rider reboot. It was. I think they used like an
Hold
iron.
on.
I can't fucking remember.
I'm gonna
Even
Google it
even
right now.
even Knight Down Below will not openly admit that he watched that fucking show. It just no. That got you beat up.
Oh,
Oh yeah. What car
was
was
it? Wait. Was it 2008?
Oh,
Was the reboot?
Yeah.
There's the
I'll take Mason's word for it. The sourness in his voice, it speaks for
yeah.
itself.
They're gonna do a reboot of something cool. As a chopper pilot, I'd say let's do Airwolf.
Right. Especially, man, not for nothing. Dude, have you guys ever looked at the 3D heli flight? Dude, I know it's RC. I get it. It's dorky, but just bear with me. 3D, YouTube this shit. 3D heli. And look at what they're getting the helis to fucking do. I know that it's a model. I get that. But it will blow your fucking mind. They ramp the head speed up so high, and then they go inverted easily. The three-dimensional maneuvers that are possible, things like the chaos maneuver where it's just spinning and going in a 360 sphere a foot off the ground. The shit that you can do with that is unbelievable. Sorry, little spiel there for the 3D heli flight, but
I mean, if you think about it, like that's how like they make models of like actual like sized like helicopters and shit. So it doesn't surprise me that it can do that because I'm pretty sure like in the future that we're gonna have actual helicopters that can do that shit.
fly to the Phoenix, buddy. Fly to the Phoenix.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like we're not too far off. Like they literally use like smaller scale sized like models to do this shit for like big stuff. So I mean, it
Oh yeah.
wouldn't surprise me if any of that becomes like actual like on like an actual like helicopter or anything like that. It wouldn't surprise me. Let's just put it that way.
Being able to adjust the pitch on the blade so that you can actually go inverted with a lightweight aircraft. I mean,
Well, they have those. The Pelicans. I mean, they can essentially do that.
essentially, I'm talking like a lot more than essentially. I'm talking like ferociously use 3D, not like, oh, we actually made a loop-de-loop. I mean, like, violently use the 3D capabilities.
Oh, I see. I see what you're
You
saying. Like,
you got to go to YouTube and look at 3D, the number 3, letter D, space heli, and check that shit out. I'm telling you, it'll blow your mind. I never thought that stuff like that was possible. I didn't think that was possible to do things like. I didn't think that was physically. I didn't think physics would allow stuff like that. And honestly, with the whole UFO thing, it makes me wonder. Like, I don't know. Sorry. Not trying to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole here. I'm just saying.
That's the funniest conspiracy theory ever. It's like a conspiracy theory about RC equipment.
Yeah.
Right? That
Yeah.
seems like 1 million views on YouTube. If we could stretch that out to 45 minutes, RC cars, right?
No problem. No problem. Let's do it.
The
Sorry.
dark underbelly of RC cars. How would that intro go?
UFOs or RC? No.
If you can combine RC cars with X Files, that would be fantastic.
Oh, we can do that. I am sorry. I'm highly distracted, and I am popping off to go do the thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
TMI, dude.
Right?
If you got a if you got a little bit of a Woody in your pants, go ahead.
Ha 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 ha
You
ha.
need to
Just
announce it.
to,
Work.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work thing. The
Welcome
work
work,
thing.
to
work,
The
work,
work
work.
thing.
welcome
The
to
work thing.
welcome to Perfidious Morning Radio.
Hey, Mason.
Yeah.
Can you do the SquareSpace title?
What's the SquareSpace title? The SquareSpace Degen Conversations in a Broadcaster Voice.
There you go. Just like that. Thanks.
Amazing.
Home of
Catch you
digital
guys on the
creators,
flip.
entrepreneurship, and standalone retards. Oh, he left us
I
that
mean,
fast. He just poof. Bye, Casey.
yeah,
He does that so well. He's so good at it.
he's you know, a lot of people will be like, "Hey guys, I just want to let you know that I'm gonna leave now, and and then they'll like leave for like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
right? You know, I just want to say, and you know, it's like, no, you could just walk out, dude. It's fine.
Go to an AMA, and the project leader leaves and doesn't come back. That was a good one. I enjoyed that the other day. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I got to take a meeting real quick. Be right back." And yeah, he never came back.
Man, what was the question that led him to leave?
Why does your project suck? Like,
You know what?
oh,
I might leave a chat. You know, that's
well,
an
no,
easy
there
question.
were some hard questions. There were some hard questions. It was a metaverse build platform, and the guy is just basically an asshole. There may be nothing wrong with the actual platform when they get it going, you know, maybe in January or something like that. But the guy's just an asshole, just straight up. Nobody likes him. It's just a weird vibe to have a project leader that people are like, dude, like, you got to stop being so aggressive, so attacking, so defensive all at the same
Right,
time. Like,
right.
yeah, it was just weird. So,
I wonder how much of that is revealing. You know what I mean?
well, consider who we partnered with. Yeah, exactly. I put some money into these projects and kind of regretting it, but it's nothing detrimental. It's just unfortunate for the little guys that hold one or two of these NFTs or something, right? They were hoping on utility and hoping on this, and they've been waiting since February. These companies haven't even produced a fucking T-shirt, dude.
Yes, yes. That's what I found. The main theme over the past 2 weeks is that people have a lot to say about their product and very little to show.
Yeah, and any questioning of, missed timelines or deadlines or, hey, I heard you in a space. This is literally what this guy said. He's in a space. We're listening to him, and he's telling other people, going, our project is 100% plus complete of its roadmap. We're all looking at him in the next AMA that we had, that we were able to talk to him. We said, what part of this roadmap in 5.5 months is 100% plus done? None of it's done. Zero. And it's just doesn't build a lot of trust, and hence the use of the word perfidious.
Yeah, I think I guess talk has never been cheaper, right? But it's the primary driver of value for a lot of these projects, right? If they didn't have Discord or Twitter Space, they might not exist.
I'm going to make a coffee. I'm going to make some noise.
Yeah. What's going on, Andy? You're back. After the voice acting class, I never heard from you again. I know you can't talk. It's all good. So funny. Andy did like the voice acting class and was like, and then the next thing he told me, he was like, "Oh, I got sponsored to do a podcast from a university." I'm like, "What the fuck?" And that's the last I've heard of him. What's going on, B?
No, we just did a company acquisition from Stanley Black & Decker to Securitas. That's what's
Did
going on.
Did that just
One point-
happen?
Yeah, they transferred this morning at like 4 o'clock this morning. They transferred $1.3 billion from Securitas over to Stanley Black & Decker, and we are starting the acquisition process as we speak. Stocks aren't doing shit, so I don't think
Yeah,
it's fully.
this would have been priced into the market for a while, right?
Yeah, it is. The Stanleys, I think they're losing $12 per share, and then Securitas is going to gain. I want to say it was 18 to 33.
What I saw was that Securitas paid $3.25 billion, I think,
No, that
for
was
Stanley.
that was what it was appraised for.
Oh, okay.
It was appraised at
Oh,
3.25 billion. They only paid 1.3 billion.
so 1.3 for a total valuation of 3.25.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, we were in October. We trained a tech that Securitas moved from St. Kitts to Toronto because they couldn't find anyone here, and so it was like his third month in. Sorry, like maybe his third week in, and he was just right in front of Roland, and Roland sat with that guy face to face. It was like a one-on-one class, right? And the acquisition had just happened, and then in Canada, TELUS bought ADT. So then I saw like, okay, so other companies in the space were M&Aing up, right? So you have G4S, right? You have Securitas, and about 4 or 5 other players at this point.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. Pretty crazy. But Stanley lost. They lost $12 per share, and Securitas gained $18, I think, per share, is what we just found out. So it's all very interesting the way the market's playing out with all these different companies out there doing all these different things of merging.
Yeah, the consolidation is happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, for like Securitas, they were traditionally a mobile secured, right? A mobile guarding company, right?
Yeah.
And then when we saw them at this, it's like, oh shit. So they just like took one big step into the, adjacent space.
Yeah, the little fish definitely bought the big fish this time. Kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, there is a, people talk about how the fourth industrial revolution, whatever the fuck that is going to, impact people who do service jobs, like at McDonald's, for example. You might not need the cashier like you used to, right? Every time a security camera is installed, they need less mobile guards, right? And so there's like this push and pull between these two departments where one is in charge of having guards and the other one is perhaps replacing the need for as many guards as you used to have. So it's a really interesting thing to have a company that's involved in both. And I've watched the interviews from the CEO of Securitas, right? And he talked about needing to honor the way that they used to do business while moving into the future. And I thought that was an interesting way to put it, right? We've built a cash cow around mobile guarding. And while we want to honor that business, we have to figure out a way to enter into the future while honoring that business. Hey, Ahmed.
The future is now.
Hey, hello everyone.
It's
Yo, what up?
What's going on, dude?
Managed to debug a front end thing today. I'm feeling very happy.
The front end is the final frontier of code, eh? People thought it was the back end.
The backhoe.
The backhoe. Great code from that gal. It's funny because Ahmed, you're in kind of the ivory tower of security, and Brian is the integrator on the ground. Brian's with Stanley Black & Decker, and we were just talking about how there was like a merge takeover with Securitas. So now Securitas owns Stanley Black and Decker, and so now you have basically Securitas, G4S, and maybe a bunch of other companies. You saw the TELUS bought ADT? Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. That was an interesting acquisition. I didn't know Black and Decker was now part of Securitas. That's very interesting.
Brian's at Stanley right now, so he's on the ground floor of it.
Yeah, well, there's Stanley Security Solutions. There is a bunch of. There's a camera solution. There's a bunch of others. There's Stanley Health. There was a bunch of it that they bought. I want to say 4 or 5 different businesses, and they created Securitas Technologies and Securitas Healthcare is the 2 areas that they've are trying to merge some of this under right now. It's really interesting. Like, we're literally have to do a paper time card for a couple of weeks till they figure this out. Like, so y'all just traded some money and didn't think about how this is all going to play out? Very, very warming.
The paper
fuzzy
time card.
feeling.
How dare you?
I just got a spreadsheet. Like, this is how you do your time card. Please fill this out and submit it to this person. I was like, what the are we talking about here? It's 2022. I can build you a freaking mobile app in a couple hours that'll solve this problem.
Maybe you should at this point. Brian Enterprises presents
Monday, dash, fill in the blanks. Tuesday. I mean, come on, guys. This isn't rocket science. We're using an Excel spreadsheet. Okay.
Leave HR alone, Brian. Leave them alone.
Oh shit, how dare you, Ahmed. HR is a very knowledgeable part of an organization, sir.
No. Wait. First of all, you are an exception. You're like a pearl in a pile of shit. Let's not kid ourselves. Good HR departments will make the life of the corporation and the employees easy. A bad HR department or a poorly run HR department makes things absolutely horrid. One of the things that employees don't realize is that the HR department is not there for the employees' benefit. It's there for the corporate benefit, right? Corporation's benefit. And that sort of, you take your problems to HR is basically, go to the devil for Bible studies or something like that. Oh, because the devil is the expert on the Bible. but well, yes, if you at least if you look at it, like this in the Islamic tradition, the devil is not a fallen angel. The devil is actually so in the Islamic tradition, the shaitan or is what is a jinn, which is another type of creatures that God created that have free will, but he was so pious that he was raised up to the status of the the Prince of Angels. Like he was given the status of the Prince of Angels because of his piety and devotion to God, and became jealous of Adam and Eve. It's a very Judeo-Christian, Abrahamic religion, so it has similar stories. But yeah, the devil is the best authority on the will of God, because the devil wants to circumvent it. Got to know the rules to bend them.
Dude, that explains why every HR, like every good HR department, they got some lady who's chewing bubble gum giving you the fucking most attitude.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, that's why I think it should be streamlined. Like, leave HR out of it and just let these apps do everything we need it to do.
Are you saying
yeah,
Skynet is better than an HR department, Brian?
Pretty much.
yeah,
I think he threw
yeah.
down the gauntlet there.
I did, man. I mean, when you have $1.3 billion of cash to wire transfer from one to the other to buy 7,000 employees and 5 different companies, and then you send me a Excel spreadsheet and says do your time card like this for the next 3 weeks. I'm a little worried.
Well, no, think of it. Look, listen, this is how you do this. You bill for the time for doing the Excel sheet. That's part of your job, right? So if why not? Why worry about it? Aren't it's not outside the scope of your job, is it? To build to do your timesheets.
No. It's not the scope of it. It's I'm bound underneath the contract, and there's only X, Y, Z to be done. So there is no time card to be done for me, and I'll just there's a lot of guys out there that, dude, you got to write down every time you went to the bathroom, and they want it broke down for everything. Like, this is a stop. Did you do this? I mean, I feel sorry for those people out in the field.
Then I reached for a square of toilet paper.
Yeah, I logged into the SquareSpace, and I mean, I'm just like, I'm really like, it's not. I'm not worried about me. I'm just like, yeah, it's a little nerve wracking that you just sent out a Excel spreadsheet for 7,000 people to fill out. That's going to be a hot mess.
Oh, it's going to get worse because that Excel spreadsheet has absolutely no controls around it, and now you've got potentially protected information, right? Depending on the jurisdiction, floating around in flat files.
Yes, yeah. I'm like, so I was like, I mean, I get it that we're all behind the firewall and we're on the network, but still,
No, but there's privacy concerns internally. Like there's,
correct, yeah,
like
yeah,
there's
that's
privacy concerns internally.
100%. That's why I was like, okay, just because you have money don't mean you have brains.
But it does mean you have money.
It does mean that you have money.
Oh man, that is
But what?
not surprising. I'll tell you a story about when I went to U of T, I took business because I wasn't smart enough for science. Okay. And then when I was in business, I realized my math skills weren't good enough for the hardcore economics or finance, okay, or accounting, right? So what does that leave? It leaves HR, right? I didn't even want to be in business school, right? I just didn't like all of the other options, and I thought they would be like expensive ways to be broke, the other degrees. So I was like, well, I guess I'm only smart enough to be in business. And then when I saw that of all of the specialties you could do in business, if you wanted to reduce the amount of math that you took, HR was that place that people went. They're like, how do I avoid having to take second year calculus? HR. How do I avoid economic theory? No, HR. So that's how it works, like within the school system.
Can I tell you that is so scary? Because did I ever tell you about that stupid story I had with my previous partner who kept on yelling at me, like back in the 90s, because I kept on spending money on training the folks who were working in Trustifier, and he was like, "Why are you spending money on them? What if they get trained and leave?" Did I tell you about that?
No, I heard the joke. What if we don't train them and they stay?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said to him. I don't know whether I had not heard that joke, but that actually happened to me in real life. I
Wow.
had a fight on it. I was like, "No, we're spending this money because I don't want untrained people doing coding here." Like, so it's so bizarre.
Yeah, it's I understand that perspective of saying if we spend 15 grand and the person leaves, what's going to happen? The talking to Zach with the military decision making process, I if you look at the documents, a lot of their focus is on preparing the light infantry to operate as a squadron. Like that was like the main purpose of the whole thing. Like the reason that we're doing all of this preparation for people is so that they know how to operate in the fog of war together in synchronous.
Oh yeah, like the military is a machine. It produces fantastically, like for its mission, it produces the results. They are so good at basically molding human brain. They are extreme, like they mold it into something fairly extreme and from certain perspective grotesque, but extremely effective,
I was
right?
I was
As
talking to
far
Zach
as
about
as
like
far as
yeah,
soldiers are concerned,
mhm.
like war fighters are some of the most well trained, uh, you know, down to earth, straightforward people. The reason warfighter, like retired military, is so like I have always worked with retired military folks because you know what you're getting. They are like they are they're a different breed, and it's quite and it's the military training that pushes them through it. And it's always, it's never the athletes or there's no such thing as the star performer, right? The ones who succeed are the ones who are persistent. Like they will just keep going.
I'm not sure if you've ever met Zach. Sometimes he's in these spaces. So Zach has a business called Win the War Coaching, and the thrust of the idea behind the business is that what if we paired pre-seed A startups with a disciplined military leader who may actually be in theater, right? Or maybe be like off and on, right? Does that make sense? And so the idea is that if we were to introduce not only a military leader for leadership and discipline, but also these doctrines of military decision making process, course of action, wargaming, all of those things, that maybe the mix of accountability, leadership, discipline, and these doctrines would help individual startup founders or small teams maybe ship faster.
There are pros and cons to it. Having worked with military uh, commanders who have tried to transition um, into civilian life and through entrepreneurship, there is it's hit and miss because one of the problems that happens is unless they were at the tactical decision making space, they are actually not leaders; they're followers. If that makes any sense. Well, they're leaders once you give them what to execute, but they do not know how to come up with what to execute.
So they can, maybe they're better at facilitating the process.
Oh, they're fantastic at operations. Put them in charge of ops and say and give them a target. You always have to give military trained personnel a clear objective and say attain this objective, and they will you don't have to tell them how to obtain the objective. You always have to give them an objective, so that because that's what military beats out um mm, picking a direction. or decision making in one sense, but beats in decision making in another sense. Does that make sense? I know
Mhm.
it's like you need to take this hill, but not which hill do you need to take, right? So the objective has to be very clear and has to be go do this, but not a why, like or figure out what to do. So military strategists tend to come, from like that's a very, if you want military strategists, you want somebody who was at least a brigadier or also first star general, and even then, the political aspects of it are not. You need somebody who's done both the civilian politics side of it, because that's where consequences are measured, because military trained personnel are not are not looking at the big picture. They're looking at the tactical picture always. So they're very very good at tactics. They're not the people for strategy, and that's where, if you do pair somebody from a military training, you have to pair them with with somebody who is a strategic commander, because they are really good tactical commanders.
So right now we have in the room two sides of the equation. So we have Ahmed, who's in software, who's found a lot of value in working with the retired military personnel, and we have Zach, who's the founder, co-founder of Win the War Consulting, and we were talking about if you were to avail yourself of military leadership, how best could you parachute or deploy that asset, right? What do you think, Zach? You've been listening to Ahmed. I think he's with the wifey. um, but no, I'm glad he's here because it's an
I'm
interesting.
glad he's here too. I've started following him because I have to jump away, but I would really, now my perspective on it is personal, a personal experience, right? I have not studied the topic the way Zach may have. I'm sure, or Zach has, because that's what he's doing, as a first class activity. So I would love to learn from him what strategies, techniques, sort of commonalities he's found in trying to do this pairing, because like the two folks that I've never had problem with are people who have had experience in service industry and people who have had experience in the defense in military, right? You will always get the best gems out of those two groups. And I've all one of my favorite.
Thank you.
What?
No, I think
Oh,
that a lot of people don't realize um, the huge amount of talent that's in the military, and that's currently serving, not just veterans. There's so many.
Yes,
There's so
yes.
many funnel pipelines to get veterans into jobs. Got it. There's headhunters. There's all these people. They've made a huge business out of it. But right now, what I'm trying to do is pair people even before they leave. Right?
Yeah, internships.
Yeah.
That's such a good idea.
Leverage
That
freelancers so that they can test different things. They can make impacts in different ways. Right. So you're in. You said you're in cybersecurity, right?
I'm in, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and So here's the funny thing, Zach. I specifically founded my company in Maryland because I wanted to get access to the warfighters.
Yeah. And they most people who are in your position, they
they leverage lieutenants and captains, right, that come out with a college degree. But there are huge numbers of service members who are doing cybersecurity, they're doing cyber defense, they're doing all sorts of different jobs without a degree and don't know if they want to pursue it in the civilian world. And so what I've been doing is pairing people on a commonality of hard work, leadership, business learnings, discipline, physical fitness, mental health, resiliency. And so maybe the pairing, I take someone who's working in cybersecurity in the military and let's say I paired them with you, right? Maybe you're not getting cybersecurity work out of them, but they're coming up with your workout plans. You're allowed to bump ideas off of them. You're able to say like, yeah, I'm really thinking of changing my whole direction and go do this. And this outside perspective of, well, let's do MA. Let's go through the facts, the assumptions, the risks, the questions you need answers to. And the service member gets to dip his toes into learning what cybersecurity is all about on the outside, while he's learning what it takes to run that company. And so you're actually building this connection where he gets out and then maybe he comes and goes, hey, I really liked what I did. I now have a degree. Or, yeah, I'd really love to intern my last 6 months in the military. And so by making these connections, you're able to get these people who for 20 years they're working in the military, but they can pair with these people to learn more on the outside what it takes.
Zach, that's so brilliant. Where are you? Where are you situated? Where are you running this out of?
I'm in El Paso, Texas, so I'm full-time active duty, and so I'm running this as just analog consulting business. When we're working on building a platform to kind of expedite, because what I think the platform will allow us to do is it'll allow us to aggregate data on individuals. And what I'd like to do is, let's say you and an individual were talking for 5 years and they were like helping you get through hard times or helping you with your fitness or helping you with all these things that we're really good at. But he's also talking about cybersecurity and he's learning about it through interacting with you. Well, at the end, I'd love to say, he could be a leadership in cybersecurity consultant and give him a certificate on that. So aggregating the data of what we're able to impact while we're active duty and supplement their income so that the good ones stay in so that this organization gets better. So that's kind of my goal, is twofold.
That's amazing. There are 4 projects that that are coming up down the pipeline that we are bidding on, which would be interesting to talk about. They're very, very. I've in the last 6 years, I've veered away from serving the defense sector directly because I spent 15 years doing it, and it had its pros and cons. But I've been sucked back in because the people that I love who are serving have reached out and said that I need to get into that part. So I'm based out of Maryland. It may be worthwhile. I've started following you. Please DM me and let's set up a potential call. And there might be a bunch of directions that we can explore on how we can help active duty personnel start side hustles, essentially. And
That's exactly what I'm trying to do. So a year ago, they changed the regulation that allows the military service members to do it as long as it doesn't affect the mission. And a lot of people don't.
And and no, I heard about that. I wasn't sure how to tap into it, but yeah, absolutely. Let's actually have a conversation early next week. If you follow me back, I will message you my Calendly. Let's get on a Zoom call at your convenience, since you're active duty, and you let me know how. I will tell you what I'm up to, and you let me know if there's a fit with what you're doing, and we figure out a way to work together.
I just followed you back. I got to run. I got to drive to work. But yeah, I love it. And yeah, I think that there's
And
a huge.
Zach, thank you for your service, sir.
Oh, I always feel weird how to respond to that, but I appreciate it. And
No, you see, there are certain thank yous that do not require a response, and that is one of them.
well, I appreciate everyone, and yeah, I'll keep jumping into the room. Yeah, I appreciate it. I got to run.
I gotta run too. Take care, Mike. As always, this was fantastic. You
Just in time consulting.
just in time consulting. I need to touch base with you later on. I have an 11 o'clock, but I'll call you back after. Bye.
So, hey, Dan, I know you're not in the room, but that doesn't mean I can't still talk to you like you're in the room. So, I don't have to tell you what's up. It's already up. You know what I'm saying? Right? That's how the syndicate works. You put a bunch of good people in a space, and if they get along, then they decide for themselves if they want to keep getting along.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool too. That that they're able to like they're trying to find work for these servicemen and women that are in the field, right? The one thing is that what happens after they're out, you know what I mean, when they're done with their enlistment, right? Like a lot of these veterans, once they get out, they have trouble finding work in the civilian world or like adapting to the environment and changes that are going on. They're so used to having like a commanding officer or like somebody above them kind of directing them and
It's kind of
guiding
like
them
they've been deployed
to
for
the
so long,
answers. Yeah, exactly.
right? And so to go from, like, I think about your situation where you went from football to not football. Like, where does that energy go? Right? You don't have someone telling you to pick up and make your bed and do your push-ups and blah blah blah, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's where I struggled in life too. Is that like the whole dynamic of team sports and being a part of a football team or a baseball team and having a coach, like all that shit's fine and it's dandy and I love it, right? I love the the fact of getting up in the morning and having someone yell at me and tell me that I need to do something and drop and give me 50 push-ups. I love that shit. That shit was awesome. But what happens when you're out and you're no longer in the game and you don't have those people telling you to drop and give me 50 push-ups
Now
and you,
you're the
you don't
coach.
have any outside force to motivate you
Yeah.
to do the things that you were so used to? How do you motivate yourself to get up and continue to do stuff? It's I guess it's just a lot of discipline. I know that there's a lot of servicemen and women that do have that discipline and that can do it, but there's also the other side that they just lose the tenacity to be able to actually achieve like higher goals in life because they don't have those outside forces driving them for success and stuff like that. And that's why we have a lot of issues with our veterans not being able to source work after they're out. It's very sad. It's very, very sad. And I hate every time I see it. I mean, it's like every time I hear about it, I have friends that were in the service and the way that they talk about how like the lengthy process is of acquiring medication or acquiring help through the VA. It's like it's like pulling nails and pulling teeth, and it's just scary. It's scary to think about. And another thing too is that like we have a lot of skilled labor jobs in the workforce, and I feel like a lot of these guys would be good for it, but a lot of the times, by the time they get out, they're overlooked, or people aren't very interested and stuff like that. So it's
I think
I
people.
think it's like an issue.
I think it's a couple things. It's like, when you've been executing a doctrine in one domain for so long, it's sometimes hard for you to move to even an adjacent domain, right? Not because they don't relate, but because the people are different. Maybe the process is different. maybe the discipline that, I can imagine how frustrating it is for someone working in the military to that's used to executing a lot, right? Walk into a space that they're like really lackadaisical, right? And so I think that the opportunity for Zach to help organizations like Ahmed's is a crazy case study. Because if there's a way that Zach's coaching syndicate can parachute in someone who has the right expertise, which is military grade cyber security, right? You now have startups that are executing faster, that are based in Maryland, right? And that's GDP right there, right? So to me, that part is fascinating. I didn't really want to get too much in the way of them meeting. I just want to make sure to be like, it's funny because Ahmed was talking and I'm telling him about the idea of win the war coaching, right? And as Ahmed's talking, I'm like frantically going over and be like, hey, Zach, I know you're probably busy, but you need to really come here, right? And then he jumped into space and Ahmed finishes talking. And I'm like, Ahmed, Zach, Ahmed. And next 20 minutes, hold it.
Yeah, and I do like that concept. On the concept of having like a personal like lifestyle coach, to keep you on your toes and stuff like that. It's pretty. I do like that. I like the concept, but I also like the fact that I feel like a lot of people, they tend to lean on people too much, and I feel like if somebody was out there to help self motivate them, help them find that inner peace inside them to be able to motivate themselves and help them work through those things instead of utilizing that person as like 100% like your motivation, but someone to wean off of, you know what I mean? Like a program where you can help someone become self-reliant to where they won't actually need your services after like so many sessions if they accomplish certain things, you know what I mean?
I find over time that I talk to my mentors less and less. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually supposed to happen. Like,
That's really good.
my professor from U of T, I didn't know this, but he had a military background, right? And it kind of, when you're young and somebody talks about their military experience, you kind of gloss over it, right? Because you don't have any life experience, right? So you don't know what these words mean when somebody says they've done this or they've done that, right? You see the pictures and you'll be like, oh, that's my professor in the Philippines. And look, there's him in Okinawa, Japan, doing bare knuckle boxing in the kumite, and so it's now looking back, I'm like, oh fuck, my mentor had like a military background. And then I realized like where Elon Musk went to school is where my wifey went to school, and that's where Elon Musk went to school. And this guy, his family, Richardson, Professor Richardson, they have like a whole building named after him, like a whole library, I think, or a hall, Richardson Hall. And so I never realized that a lot of the people that were my mentors in life actually had a military background that I just didn't recognize for what it was. I didn't see the significance of it. So, I think to me, like, let's imagine that we do have a syndicate here, a syndicate of nodes that want to avail themselves of a mixture of capital, people, and process and technology to move forward. As a headhunter, I'm biased. I think that if you meet the right person, like Ahmed meeting Zach, that can replace your need for capital. That can actually replace your need for technology, right? Because the people connection is so good. And by the way, if you need technology, I mean, Ahmed's a software engineer in cybersecurity. He can whip anything up for you in 2 seconds, right? So that's what is fascinating to me, that two people who don't know each other can find value together. I want to see if that value gets taken forward in the form of an achieved mission. And once we have evidence of achieved mission, then we can say, okay, this is actually creating GDP in the world.
Yeah, yeah, and then this could also branch into different areas and different fields as well. It's not just for cybersecurity. You know, it can apply to a lot of different
Could have put
constructs.
cupcakes, right? You have a cupcake business. I don't know. I like cupcakes, right? Can be anything. Can
Yeah,
be.
it can be anything. Exactly. It's just, you know, like Zach said, right? He's just trying to help servicemen and women find certain side hustles that they can do that don't, you know, interfere with what they're currently doing within the military. So, I mean, it could literally be anything. I mean, imagine like a service for military men and women when they're off duty, they can do handyman shit around people's houses and, you know, or hang up TVs or do yard work or, you know, whatever, just to make some extra cash on the side. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like indoors because some people don't like doing that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I don't like being inside all day. I know you guys do. You know what I mean? Y'all, you guys love being inside. You know, y'all can be on the computer all day and stuff. But I'm an outdoorsy person. I like to get my hands dirty and I like to get sweaty and stuff like that. So um, and there's a lot of other people that like doing that. So being able to have a program for those individuals as well, that would be, you know, I could see where this could like bleed into that as well.
Yeah, I remember my professor told me that a strong CEO hires an executive team that is strong where that person is weak, right? So a lot of it is just like identifying your strengths and realizing, you know, that you have to fill those gaps. And you know, I see a lot of startups that we talk to, and you see this too, I bet, that they stall out, they lose momentum, they get lost in minutia, they think too much instead of act, right? And it's not to say that they don't have great ideas, right? But maybe because they're alone, like I don't think we recognize how alone these founders are, right? And it's all on them. And everyone shows up because of them. And if they have an off day, the whole company has an off day.
Oh, dude, I understand. So the company, like I said, my family's company, like my uncle runs everything. He runs the fucking billing, he runs the books, he runs the scheduling, he runs the dispatching service, he runs, you know, he runs us. Like he does literally everything from top to bottom. And it's the most loneliest job that he ever has. Like, I don't know how he does it. I'm like, dude, I don't know how the hell you're still doing this. He's like, I have no choice. I don't trust anybody. I'm like, well, that's the problem, right? You don't trust anybody because you haven't groomed anybody to kind of like replace you. Like that's the whole end goal, right? Is you start something, then you groom somebody to replace you, and then you just kind of like oversee the whole entire operation, but you have people in place that could do the job just as good as you because you're able to instill those values and instill those skill sets inside that person. But yeah, man, I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to do it. He's already approaching like 50 and he's had like multiple mental breakdowns and shit like that. And I keep offering to help take the workload off. But yeah, dude, it's definitely lonely, especially when you start something, it's your baby. And a lot of these guys, they don't understand like how to let go and, you know, loosen the stranglehold of power that they have over the company. And that's why most companies fail. Like I got lucky that he's very disciplined and he knows like what to do to keep the business running. But there's a lot of individuals out there that it can be very overwhelming for them. So, you know, so they start up this business, it becomes very successful, and then they just can't keep up with the demand because they can't handle all the pressure and stresses that come along with the extra workflow.
That's kind of what I'm facing right now, where it's like, um, you know, they say the reward for good work is more work, right? And I remember, I think it was the CEO of Rakuten that said companies grow by magnitudes of threes and tens, like from, you know, 1 to 3 to 10 to 30 to 100. And every time they grow in magnitude, they actually become different businesses. Right. And so I feel this thing where, I used to, again, I'm a recruiter, right? I'm a headhunter. I help people find, right? When I realized that um, helping people find people was the same thing as helping people find software and started, and getting involved in software sales and all that stuff. It was all people at the end of the day. It was just a different conversation. What are we talking about today? Software? Hardware? What are we talking about? Right? Who do you need? What's their title? What are the 3 to 5 companies that these people work at? All right, I'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. Right? And then you just go find the person. So now what's happening is, see, that before Twitter Spaces, I would do this over the phone. Does that make sense? And then I would have to call you. And then I call, oh, I know who you need. You need Dan. And then I have to add Dan to the call. But then I have to wait for Dan to be available for the call. And invariably now everything gets pushed back a couple weeks because I just can't schedule a call because all good people are busy. But now I can just have like an open call, right? And be like, hey, Ahmed, have you met Zach? Zach, Ahmed? No?
This is Dan. You're on the
And
air.
then
Go ahead. Hi, folks.
Stan,
What's going on?
so what happened? Actually, I was speaking to you in the recording because I realized I could still talk to you even though you're not here. Maybe that's why you came. You came because of that. Maybe
I
that's
like
what it
that.
is. Maybe feel. Hold on, let's try this. Hey, Casey, you're fucking. And I'm singing, right? Casey, we need another song for the album. We can't have a. I guess you could try a single. Is it going to be trap, Casey? I don't know. What do you want? So imagine you could just be like conjure people in the room. But anyways, we were talking to you because we had another experience of value potentially being generated from this Twitter Space syndicate. So Mr. Raj was there. We were talking to Ahmed, who's in cybersecurity in Maryland, right? And we were talking to Zach, who is in the military, right? And has the Win the War coaching service. And so I was talking to Ahmed about the military decision making process, blah, blah, blah. And he was telling me, oh, yeah, I love working with ex military. They're great. As long as you have a defined mission, they're going to get that mission done, whether you like it or not. And so I was like, hey, Zach, you got to get in the room. We're talking about you. And so I invite Zach, and, they talked for half an hour. And now they're probably jumping on a Zoom call.
Nice. I like that. You basically get people warm. You know what I mean? You basically go like, oh, yeah, you're still 74 degrees Celsius. Let's try to get some jokes in you. Let's do some laughs. And then
Paying attention to this laugh. Now I can search the pill. You're laughing, eh? See, you can't laugh without your mouth open at that moment. I just tossed in the pill like a little M&M.
Yeah. I think that you have to have a pedal board system on the floor so that you can flush them out of the space. They don't leave the space so much as you open an airlock and you assign those two syndicate entities to then be sucked out of the room so they can process their feed of understanding.
I've been working on how to introduce people on a call for years. It'd be like, oh, awesome. So I've just joined the call. You know what, Dan, Mr. Raj, I know both of you, but I've never had a chance to introduce you guys together. So obviously, you know me, I'm Michael Jagdeo, right? Software development. Mr. Raj is thinking about HVAC 4.0. Mr. Raj, Dan, Mr. Raj. And then they talk over each other. Hi. That goes on for 15 seconds.
I think that we should really be working on probably more effective intros. In other words, you sort of align people from maybe, I don't know, something that's a little darker. In other words, I want everyone here to get to know Anne. Anne and I, we haven't worked together, but we share sort of a shared trauma. For her, she lost her turtle when she was 13. For me, I actually wrecked my Maserati when I was 27. I wrapped it around a pole. I was drinking at the time and going through a lot of issues, but I fixed that up And after I got my second divorce, I kind of moved on to a better priority of focus. And, I think out of bankruptcy, it's weird is that you could be bankrupt twice in 3 years and they actually count it as one bankruptcy. So that's cool. But yeah, I think there's a lot of alignment that you guys can have. I look forward to introducing both of you together and hopefully the best.
So you're telling me that if I use this intro for myself and say, "Hey guys, my name is Roger, and I like to shotgun beers and I like to party," that's not going to work?
No, I think it could be. Actually,
Work with for a second.
you know what's crazy in this current society on how funding programs work? If you were talking to a state or municipal sort of player in the startup ecosystem space, you should actually be speaking directly to whatever requirement that they have not met yet for the current funding they got, right? So everyone who gets funding has a bunch of, things they have to do, like in the funding. It said that you were going to be as happy as a whimsical cat on a Monday. We haven't really seen that. Do we know when the whimsical cat will be on a Monday? Well, most cats come out on Tuesdays. Well, shit, how do we get out on a Monday? We could realign the planets. Will someone get on phone, get on NASA, right? So they work on all these different aspects. So I think you should just connect,
So,
especially with state people, with a
okay,
context they understand the most.
so you're telling me that I should go in there and be like, "So I noticed that on Fridays I don't have a mini bar or a snack or derp section, so
Correct.
we need to fix that."
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe educate their sales team. Did you know that moving from gin to a stronger bourbon or even a rye whiskey could increase close prospects by extra 40%? It does bring up possibility of liability issues with the number of human trafficking fractions that happen at the same time. But we know moving our salespeople from ordering gin and tonics to more bourbon-based cocktails, along with the steady progression of abuse of government funds, we think we can move our agenda a little bit further on this. You want to be a part of that? Do you want to be part of change? That's the other way to do it. Do an intro where you belittle them to the point that they haven't been doing anything. Wouldn't you like to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
waking up in
exactly.
the morning and mattering?
Like the fact that most office buildings don't have any bidets. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like clean butts. You know what I mean? Like, you know how much more productive the office would be if
Totally.
everybody was walking around after they just got a nice fresh spritz.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why here at the syndicate we believe in sort of the bidet butt case, which is it's for an iPad, but it's also a bidet, so you can take it off your iPad, put it right on the toilet, and then you're back to doing what you do best, which is processing complex thought and making sure your patterns, maybe have just a little bit more fiber in them.
Yeah, dude. And then with the iPad, it can like track your freaking how many calories that you're losing while
Correct.
sitting there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's just so many things that they could do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Well, just the analysis of fecal matter alone has gone up by 48% over the last 16 weeks.
I know. Don't you want? I mean, I kind of wish that I could know, like, was this healthy for me?
I was thinking about, I just was talking to a client, new client, new intro, new client. It's a gal's working on a burnout HR platform. Basically, it's a common space. I can help you with your employees who are all burned out. Did you know that burnout employees will actually take down your company? Did you know that you're actually the Titanic? Did you know that you're actually singing? That's the kind of line. But they were talking about their product, and one of the things was killing me. I think it's because of the coffee I had. I was moving too fast, and I was like, "Yeah, I know you're going to tell me that. Yes, I don't care, don't care." Well, this happens a lot when people talk to me and they tell me their ideas. In my head, it's literally, "Don't care, don't care, don't care, neat, don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care." And if you hear more than say 15 "don't cares" in your head in one sequence, just stop the call and reset the expectations. Because if you don't, you're going to basically go through, like, you're basically willingly throwing away the next 45 minutes of not only your time but everyone's time on the call, because you're not actually having a meaningful conversation. And it's not to be rude to the person. I had to tell the person this one, like, look, it's really simple. This concept at a high level is 75 grand. And the way this deck is positioned, the way it's written, it is written in the way that I don't think you have any money. Is that correct? Yes, I don't. Okay, great. So we just established a huge point of clarity, and we got to do it within the first 10 minutes of the call. So what do we know? We know this is a person that's got expertise in the field. She has a methodology. She does have unique IP. Is the unique IP the mobile app? No. Is it the back end? No. Is it the data processing? No. Is it the database? No. Is it 96% of the functions in that platform? No. So you're about to go into a conversation where you're going to talk about 96% of what we all know is just going to already be there in this concept. Why are we wasting that time on the call for that? It's total waste. So what you got to do instead, which is, that's cool. I had to unfortunately remind her, and I hate doing that. I hate reminding people, all right, sweet. You got a burnout application form. That's good because I built 7 of these startups and I already know how to build it, right? And you don't want to tell us that. No one wants to take you work that you've already built, but in a lot of ways you should, right? Isn't that a weird mentality? It's like, yeah, they build a lot of airplanes. We should go to somebody who's never built an airplane, to get a good airplane. Like, no, we should work with the people that build airplanes all the time. But
Look, we need to add diversity
to
the plane making process, because the patriarchy is only building with 2 wings. And what about the third wing, the divine third eye wing? Thanks.
Now, see that R&D kind of stuff. I love that. I love the person that comes to me and says, Dan, the problem with airplanes is they've always had 2 wings. I want to make an 8-wing airplane. I'd be like, let's get that money. You know what I mean? Like, I love that kind of project.
In a lot of ways, that's easier to solve than easier to race for than something that solves a problem.
Correct. Yeah. And so long story short on this call, I'm pushing my developer to go for mind map because she doesn't have a mind map yet. That's the first thing to do. Second is get all the things that you think should be automated in an Excel sheet. Start listing these things out. Get your assumptions written. If you have to go and pitch something and you don't have a top line piece of paper with all your assumptions right next to you, you're basically wasting my fucking time. You're wasting everyone's time. Because what do you want to do? You want to sell your delusional vision on what you think is possible and how easy is this all going to fucking happen. And that wastes time. So if you want to compress time, like, get your succinct points. Don't talk about the descriptor notions of why this happens with this industry and this industry with that industry. I don't give a fuck. In fact, I can't even come up to speed of that. That's what I hate about pitches, is that you spend 40% of the time on the pitch on relevant facts that have no fucking matter. I want to pitch this like slingshot, landmine, sheep. I love that. Like, that's great. I mean, it's just simple. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you can focus on those things. But everybody wants to pitch and do a justification that what they pitch is actually successful yet. You know what
I mean? Do we have, I believe we have a succinct enough pitch for the value of the syndicate as recorded on the spaces. What do you think?
Well, we're still delusional. We haven't done our, well, I'm delusional. I'm going to be head delusion. We got to lay out that, mind map, all this stuff. I say right now, we have enough to be a hobby and stupid. And that's a good spot. If you can get the stupid, then you can get the operational. You know what I mean?
Right now, I'm looking for a completion of mission. Does that make sense? So whether it's KC with you guys or Zach with Ahmed, you know what I mean? I want to be able to show, has something being created.
Yeah, I think what you're doing right now, interesting, is you're actually a living prototype. The whole Twitter space is a living prototype, and you're actually iterating on the fly and noticing that you can make connections. So you're like the classic startup. Like, what do you guys do? We're a web spy, or we're a space for people to meet and have a conversation. All right, sweet. And then you got your first pivot. Oh, we happen to notice we can make introductions to people, and that seemed to be healthy. And then there's the next pivot. We noticed that when people have conversations, they often make noise, so we had to make another room for them so we could have a quiet room over here. And then, then that person needed parking. And then that person wanted to stay longer than expected. So Michael wanted to go to sleep, so we hired another person to hang out with that person, right? You know what I mean? So you're building, this is kind of like a God game in a lot of ways. You have master puppetry control over the syndicate notion or world. That's probably and that's evolving. But at the same time, the weakness of this space is the fact that, Mike, if you get hit by a car tomorrow, we're all just going to be looking for another space, right? You're the glue. In a lot of ways, you haven't. That's probably one of the first biggest issues, and you're kind of doing this in a lot of ways, in the sense that you're mentoring all of us to sort of be like you, recognize your
I'm
opportunities.
trying to very softly introduce people to the notion of co-hosting, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. I recognize that it's really personality driven, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we might have to move away from that. So how do we do that? Okay, so let's give people who have never hosted before the chance to host.
Oh, that's true. But you're also, if you think about it, let's be honest, you're less than 30 days in on this brand, probably, right? Maybe 60, 20 days notion on what this brand is. And already you're trying to hire the relevant culture officer ahead, a product officer. And all of us down in product are pretty offended by that. We think a culture officer is needed, but we'd really like to get to Dairy Queen first. And the only way to get to the Dairy Queen is that we need to wake up the two retired engineers, which you laid off 3 years ago, who can only drive manual stick. We need to wake those guys up, get in the car, which I don't know, for one reason or another has been a manual for years, then drive over to the Dairy Queen and have the discussion over what blizzard we want. I know that you want a certain degree of compliance with our blizzards, like we should all be eating Oreo blizzards when we're on camera. But there's a lot of people here who really are more into the Heath blizzard. And quite frankly, I've never been a blizzard person and have forever been oppressed with this company's perversion with the blizzard. And I've been a grape slush guy, I don't know for how long. And grape is associated with a lot of common African American culture with lean. And because of that, I have to go in because people think I'm related to Sugar Ray, and I'm not. I listen to his music. I've been a fan of that space, but people are like, hey, you drive like OJ. I don't know what that's about. There's just, the scene is complicated, and I should probably get in the car and try to go downtown to my next meeting, which is to convince some people on how they can make better use of, I think it's like housing. This is a weird thing. Somebody basically has a giant bunch of cash to do something with housing. This was a weird call I got yesterday. Dan, can you come down and talk to some people about what they could do with housing? Yeah, what's the conversation? They got a grant and they don't know what to do with it. Okay, great. I'm a grant maximizer. You invite me to your meeting and I help you maximize your grant. Anyways, that's all I got, folks. You're going to be great today. Remember, this is the SquareSpace, motherfuckers. This is Degen Conversations in a broadcaster voice. And stay lovely, because ugly is reserved for Monday.
Amazing. Scale. Hey, Mr. Raj, I'm trying to put you in a lady's lap right now.
What does that mean?
So you saw the episode edit?
No, I have not. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it
Oh,
yet. I haven't had an opportunity to watch it.
yeah, no worries. I DM'd it to you. But I'm starting to post like little clips from it. Nice. Let me just, if I can. No, that didn't work. Eyedropper. God damn it.
That's what I like. That's what I like about this space, though, is that we have serious conversations and we have degen conversations, and we're goofy as hell, and we like to freaking bullshit and do like a bunch of different things. So that's what's unique about this space, is that if you go to other spaces, it's very conformed to like one type of individual, and I feel like here a lot more people can come here and be themselves and not be ridiculed for thinking the way they think. Unless it's like just fucking crazy, right? But but that's a different story.
I think the crazy is the part of it, right? To me, you know, what we have emerging are different segments for the show, right? So you may have a segment where you deal with a troll, or you may have a segment where we talk to you about, you know, what it's like to, what separates you from a lot of these other people, which is the fact, you know, that heavy weighs the crown kind of thing, right? You know, we have a segment where we're introducing two business owners, right? You know, these are to me like just all like little segments.
Yeah, and then Casey had individuals coming here and singing their hearts out to us. Remember, they were serenading us and everything.
Yeah, they're serenading, exactly. Dude, I can't wait till I show you this thing where you're in this lady's lap. Okay, hold on. Is that so? It needs to be a little larger. That's what she said. Um, and maybe I just need to tilt it a bit. So if I rotated it 90 degrees, that's what he said.
Oh, but before Dan walked in, you were talking about you ran into like a little wall where you're needing more help.
Um, yes. So right now, you know, the reward for good work is more work, right? But because companies have to evolve, right? We have to go from me. It's tough because the core thing of what I do is I can find the, I can look at 10 hours of content, right? And be like, this is the show, right? And that's something that I've kind of just learned by editing tons of footage, but also doing stand up. So it's like, I'm looking for the joke, I'm looking for the art, I'm looking for the emotion, I'm looking for the, right? You know? And it's funny because uh, the first employer I ever worked, well, the first few employers I worked with were great individual contributors that never really figured out, at least from what I saw back then, they probably evolved over 20 years, but never really figured out how to teach people how to do what they did. And I saw that and I was like, man, if this guy could just teach other people how to do what he did. He was an actuarial recruiter. He was a headhunter for actuaries, right? An executive recruiter for financial wizards to work at insurance companies and do financial modeling and shit. You know, at the time, he didn't have anyone else who could do what he did. But then when I would hear him on the phone, I'm like, I don't know how anyone else is going to do what you do, because you have this crazy like ability. Have you ever seen somebody really good on the phone? It's like fucking crazy. It's like magic. It's really like magic.
Yeah,
And this guy had that magic.
on the phone. I've actually been a part of those calls.
It's crazy. So, you know, I was looking at this guy, and this is when I'm like 20, 21, and I'm thinking like, wow, you know, the business is small because he's the star performer and no one else. Now I look back on it and be like, you know what? You don't have to have a crazy ass large company with 1 billion people if you don't want to, especially in this day and age, right? As long as you play your part, you know what I mean? I don't have to be everything to anyone. I don't have to be a software developer. I don't have a military background. I don't need to, you know software development because there's a node, you know, that does that. It's fascinating.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just like a watch, right? Every single gear has its own function, and without each individual gear, the watch wouldn't function.
I mean, that's a good way to look at it, right? Like we should think about. Well, let me ask you this, because you've been like, you know, in a lot of spaces. I guess what we would have to do is map out in a gamification way. This would be one approach. There are people that seek purpose, mastery, freedom, relating with others, change, or rewards, and they either get those things from the system or the other users. So then we would have to be like, okay, so we know there are philanthropists here, right? But we know there's also achievers here. We know there's people that just want the money, and there are people who want to burn everything down, right? And all of those gears, even the ones that are seemingly destructive, are part of the watch.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything has to work all together for the thing to function. So, like for instance, like we were talking about, like in crypto, right? So for crypto to succeed, there has to be sellers. Well, when people sell, people are also losing, and the people that are losing are usually the people that got in after the people after the people that have sold. So that's like that's like one of the things, right? But in order for the entire watch to continue to move, there has to be those sales. Those sales have to occur for the company to even thrive or even generate some sort of revenue for the business. Because most of these cryptocurrencies, they don't have a product that's going to fund the company as of yet. So yeah, I mean, I can exactly see exactly what you're coming from.
I think I figured it out. We just need a logo for you, Mr. Raj.
Dude, I'm actually going to I'm looking for the Mr. Rogers, like um what's it called, the it's like a fucking sweater with buttons. I forgot what it's called again. What's it called?
The cardigan?
A cardigan. There we go. There we go. I have some,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not red. So I'm
Oh
looking for the
shit! You're gonna
cardigan.
put that on?
Yeah, bro. I'm looking for the cardigan. I'm gonna buy some like Keds shoes. I'm gonna get the little khaki slacks and the tie and all that
Oh,
stuff. And then
you're
I'm
kidding me.
going to and then I have like a camera, so I'm gonna set up my camera and have my wife take a picture of me in my kid's room, because my kid's
Mm-hmm.
room has like a bunch of toys and shit. So I'm gonna have her take a picture of me with the toys and stuff, and I'm gonna professionally edit the photo, and then I'm gonna put that as my banner in the background, and then I'm gonna do like a close up for the actual profile picture to kind of like set it all off.
Wow.
But I gotta find the stuff, dude. I'm a big dude. I'm what? Oh, dude, fucking great achievement today, bro. Speaking of like being big, I weighed myself for the first time in like 3 months, and I've dropped 20 pounds, dude. I'm under
Oh,
three.
jeez.
Yeah, dude, I'm under three, bro.
Wow.
I'm at 299 right now. So I was like, fuck, dude. So like in the past 6 months, I've dropped 50 pounds, dude. 50 fucking
Holy.
pounds. Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Fuck, dude. Running, just running. I'm fasting throughout the day.
Oh, you're kidding me.
So yeah, so I don't eat at all from 8. Well, if I eat, it's just something light. It's like something light. I try not to eat my biggest meal until nighttime. So like I just eat all day. I don't eat all day. I drink a lot of water. But at first, dude, it was fucking tough, bro. Like my body just readjusting to the biological and like physiological changes within my body. It was fucking tough because I was like always exhausted. I had no energy. But after about a month, my energy just shot through the fucking roof like nothing. And like I don't get hungry, like, and I just listen to my body now. So like if I'm really starving and it's actually like my body's telling me like, hey bro, you need to eat, then I'll eat. But yeah, dude, I picked up running. I was running about 2-3 miles a day. I had to stop because work picked up a lot. But with the job that I do, it's like fucking 100 and something degrees outside, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
always sweating all the time. And like I'm putting in like what like 10 to 15,000 steps per day, burning like what was it? I'm burning about like 3,500 calories a day. It's fucking crazy how much calories I burn a day. Um, yeah, dude, but down 50 pounds, bro. I felt good when I saw that scale. I looked down. I was like, oh shit. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
sorry. I started feeling myself. I was looking in the mirror. I was like touching my face. I was like, "Damn, son, you look good today. $2.99. I feel it."
That's so funny. I wonder if I'm trying to make the image now. So if I search Google, sometimes it's hard to get the face. Oh, I can use this one. Yeah, it's a good one. This is the eyebrow space.
Yo, yo, what's up,
Uh,
Ronnie? How's it going, bud?
so, yeah, Ronnie, what do you say?
You there, Ronnie?
Yeah. What's up?
Yo, what's good, man? How's it going? You got something on your mind?
No, I'm just playing with this AI on attract funding.
Oh, the 6B data Luther?
Yeah, why? What is it?
Watch out for that. It's pretty astonishing, and the answers can be quite intimidating.
All right. Yeah, I wasn't gonna play around for too long.
Yeah. What do you think you're going to ask it?
You can ask it.
Yeah, you can ask the questions.
I just put in dream and gave me like some information. But yeah, I'll try asking it a question.
Yeah, it's astonishing.
Yo, Mike, I was watching that video that you did with Dr. Wetzel.
Oh,
I
yeah?
was Yeah, it was pretty long. I didn't get to I got through half of it. I need to watch the second half.
Mhm.
But yeah, dude, that guy's doing a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah, that guy is. Well, that's where I got that inclination of, the value of working with this military personnel. Does that make sense? I was like,
Yeah.
just how many of you motherfuckers are out there exactly? You know? Because like you hear the level, like go into any Web3 space and you hear people talk about tokenomics, right? And you'll find that they've spent more time toking than on nomics. You know what I mean? Right? They don't know shit about shit, right? They sound like it, but just because they went to YouTube University can fool a few people, right? Not fooling.
Yeah. That's what's fucking
So
crazy too. I mean, who receives more funding than our fucking military to
what?
advance our technology and shit? You know what I mean?
And so imagine you can get someone like Dr. Robert Wetzel, right? Who's been, doing God knows what, right? On your team. You don't need that many hours with that guy. You just need the right questions.
Exactly.
And then I talked to the Mind Active guy, and I was like, oh shit. Right? You ever talk to that guy, Ken Granville?
No. No,
You know,
never.
it's Space Force. So I can't believe I created this image.
Space Force, dude. Yeah, people don't believe me every time I bring that shit up. Every time I bring up Space Force, I tell them like, look, we have a Space Force for a reason. I was like, you didn't hear about people like were sabotaging our satellites and shit. Like Russia was like sabotaging our satellites and shit. You know what I mean? Like we need someone to protect our satellites. We need someone to protect like our space station and stuff like that because that's like the next that's like the next level of war. You know, once they take out our satellites, we have no GPS, systems. It can take out a lot of stuff. So
Uh, I just created it. It's really crude right now, right? But I created it. Where the fuck is the title? God. File, new, title, two. So it's title two? Okay. So if I should be able to find it. Title two? Is that you? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
crypto hood, bro.
Crypto Hood?
Yeah, that's it's Mr. Rogers' crypto
Oh
hood.
my god. Hold on. Mr. Rogers Crypto Hood. Mr. Rogers
You're
Crypto.
messing up my brand, bro.
Is it capital H?
No, it's just one word.
Okay. Crypto Hood. Okay. I like this text too. I like it. I kind of like um the fact that it's not exactly. Okay, so let's move this over here a bit. Move you down. That's what she said. Move that over. Okay, so I think we got it. So I need to format it as a PNG. Oh, I can browse a different path. It's a new computer, so still figuring out where I'm putting stuff. Okay, so I just finished it. Mr. Rogers Crypto Hood. And all I need to do is go here, here, roll up. Introducing. Alright. So let me see what you think about this. Alright, I just put it at the top.
All right, I'm gonna watch this shit. Hold on. You couldn't just cut my head out?
I looked at it and I was like, let's just keep it broken. You know what I mean? Like, because if it was perfect, it wouldn't be degenerate. You know? It was like, here you go, put it on here. All right, out the door. All right. So we can iterate on it.
It looks like we're like starting a lapel and it's not going all the way through.
I like the fact that it shows your neck and then it doesn't. It's open and then you see the tie below it. It's like it's really terribly done. You know what I mean? Like terribly done.
I just noticed that.
Yeah, look at the tie.
I fucking noticed that. You make me look like I'm super fucking jacked. That guy can't tie a tie.
Mr. I even like the text. The text to me fits perfectly.
Yeah, it does. That shit's fucking funny. But no, really, I'm gonna buy the whole fucking outfit and I'm gonna put that shit on. And then if I ever go to like meetups, if I ever go to meetups and shit, I'm gonna wear that shit.
No, I love it.
Like,
I
let's
love
say
it.
that I go to like a crypto convention, you're gonna see me in that outfit.
What you need to do is bring like a rocking chair, and you just set up the rocking chair, and you just start reading the Bitcoin white paper. You know, and a bunch of kids sit on the floor. You know,
Dude,
a
dude,
peer-to-peer
that's
cashless
dude,
system.
dude. You know what I should do? I should totally do that and read fucking white papers.
Dude, I would edit that shit. As long as you send me the video, I'll edit the whole fucking thing.
Dude, I just read white papers from projects, dude. That's fucking
Bitcoin,
genius.
Bitcoin. Welcome to Mr. Rogers' Crypto Hood. Today we're going to be reading from the Bitcoin white paper. Abstract: a peer-to-peer cashless system. I would totally edit that. And then we'd have you like by the fireplace, right? Like I'll insert a fireplace or whatever.
Or I can write it in a way it's like a children's book. That way people can understand it more.
I think if you wrote it as a children's book, then we have an entirely different conversation to have. Does that make sense? Right? Because that's actually novel IP, right? And I'd want to make sure you protect that. That's not even a joke, right? Be like, look, if you're going to create a children's book to explain people the white paper, right? And then they met Binance Smart Chain, right? And that's like the boss battle is Binance Smart Chain. You shall not trade. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
Now. Mm.
but I should, man, dude. That's a good idea. That's a really
Telling
good
you.
idea.
And what it would be is imagine that I told the same thing with Matthios. Matthios is creating he's writing the descriptions of philosophers, and he's going to be spitting it over the beats that we have. And he's not going to try to rhyme or anything. We're just going to put the beats in the background. So there's music while he's talking. But the target market are his kids. He's creating these songs about these philosophers so he can teach his kids. So imagine you were trying to teach your kids, right? And they ask you, well, what is this Bitcoin thing? And you say, well, do you have 5 minutes? All right, grab a glass of milk, meet me in the living room, right? And I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Imagine Bitcoin as a nighttime story.
Exactly. So once upon a time, there was a gentleman named Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi had dreams and aspirations of launching a new way of transacting with money. And thus came Bitcoin. Bitcoin was supposed to be a peer to peer transactional system, but these evil maxis came in and destroyed the whole narrative.
Dude, keep going.
That's all I got so far. I'm working. The evil maxis, they came in and started to take control of Bitcoin, take control of the community, telling people that it was the only thing that they should purchase. As time went on, Bitcoin rose to new and higher heights, but eventually it was its demise when everything around it started to crumble. So what did people do? They took their money out, they put it under their mattress like a good little boy and girl would do in any trap.
Keep going.
As the market started to decline, people started taking more and more money out. Bitcoin started to fall. Little did we know, Michael Saylor was buying up all the Bitcoin. As Michael Saylor was buying, Elon Musk was dumping. The Dogecoin leader wanted nothing to do with Bitcoin any longer.
Keep going.
I'm gassed out, bro. I don't have any more ideas.
But even though it's a joke, I take that, what you just did, dead serious. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Well, because it is
Like,
serious. I'm just making fun of it.
but that's a Disney movie, isn't it? Right? You're making jokes for kids and jokes for adults at the same time. Dude.
Yeah, without the sexual innuendos, though.
Mm-hmm. I think you have it, dude. I'm going to send you back a recording of this, right? And if you had a microphone, dude, it's a bedtime story. And who better to tell a bedtime story than you? A father.
Dude, I could literally be writing. I could totally do, dude.
Dude, I'm telling I have
I could just
comedians making thousands of dollars in royalties because their jokes are being played on Just for Laughs, Canada. Like, I see it working. That's the other aspect of the space that people don't necessarily see that much. But we literally have a website called Your Voice is Money because we work with people who make money with their voice, from animators to producers to you name it.
Dude, I think I'll name it the Fairy Tale Crypto Chronicles.
Yeah. The never-ending story or whatever. What's going on, Jeff?
Oh, not much. So once in a while, I'll hook when I become a speaker, my Bluetooth just completely hoses and it just starts playing on the speaker like a speakerphone, and I can't control the volume at all. It's the weirdest thing.
Bluetooth has created.
I'm sorry, everything just got silent there. I didn't hear anything.
Bluetooth hasn't improved in like 20 years. It's like one of those technologies where it's like, oh, check out my Bluetooth thing. It's like, the speaking thing. I find you would have thought it would be solid by now.
Yeah, it was a weird. Yeah, once in a while, it's a Twitter Space thing.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
Or it's. I think what I found out earlier. It was at first it wouldn't work at all. That Bluetooth doesn't by default have on the Pixel Buds didn't have the permission to act as like a microphone or something.
Yes, I couldn't figure out a way. For the longest time, I was trying to figure out how to get a fucking microphone into this thing. Right? To the point where I bought a USB-C to XLR.
So I was going to ask Mr. Rogers, since he's the HVAC guy. Hold on, I'll ask my daughter. My daughter wants something.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Hold on, my daughter needed something from me. I need to focus on that for 1 second.
Was Mr. Rogers next in the syndicate to be given a chance to carry the torch, to lead the charge, to define the mission parameters? We talked a lot about cybersecurity, about military, about smart contracts, but never necessarily about HVAC. Maybe this is Mr. Rogers' time to shine. Go ahead, Mr. Jeff. Mr. Jeff, Mr. Rod, Mr. Raj, Mr. Jeff.
My 12-year-old girl was warming up a cast iron skillet for pancakes, and not burning the house down is top priority. Uh, um, but the yesterday when the troll guy came on and kind of interrupted everything, uh, he was talking about the dead skin cells up in the drop ceiling, and I forgot. Did some commercial HVAC systems use the drop ceiling and just put grates in them, use it as a giant plenum,
No, you can't do
like a
that.
giant
That's
return?
against. No, that's so.
I thought it
So
was
you
against the
do
law. It shouldn't suck
no.
dust and
So
shit up
you
there.
cannot have the entire attic like that. So the way that it works is that if you're gonna use the fur down in the ceiling as a chase, it has to be sectionalized just for the return. So you would have to put some sort of joists or frame out the construction for that chase so that it can return air to the system, or you're just going to be sucking in attic air and getting the evaporator coil dirty and a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and that'd be the same
So
thing if it was like a drop ceiling, where it's the whole false ceiling cannot be just a one giant return
yeah,
where
the
you
whole
don't use
entire
ductwork.
ceiling can't be. Yeah, it has to have its own dedicated like return section. Some houses do utilize it as a return, but those are like condominiums and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's the only scenario I can think of. All the old people dead skin cells like floating up there is if there's some kind of negative pressure sucking them up into the drop ceiling.
yeah,
Is
no,
that how
it wouldn't suck it into the drop ceiling. There's
is
no
that
way
how
that there's.
is that how ghosts are created?
I don't
If
know,
ghosts are
dude.
made out of dust mites,
Oh man, even worse.
I mean that could have been outside dust coming in if there was a negative pressure in the building bringing outside air in, because you know how shitty things are built nowadays or built in the past.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, it was probably just insulation that was up there. Like, there's different types of insulation. Like back in the day, they used to use the cellulose newspaper, like shredded newspaper type insulation mixed with like wool, and that stuff works really well. But now you'll see like the white shredded blow-in insulation that's in the attic. But to have 2 inches of dead skin cells, that doesn't make any sense because the on in those units for those nursing homes, they use they're most likely use like a package system that services the entire building, or they're not going to have individual, you know what I mean, individual units for each building. I mean for each room, but you might have independent like temperature control. But what they normally do is for those buildings they use what's called like a water chiller, and a water chiller is this giant HVAC system that's up inside of on top of a roof that uses chilled water to cool and heat multiple areas at a time. So instead of running a separate condenser to each individual system, you're running a water chiller with separate water lines to each one, and the water's constantly being chilled, and all it has is a solenoid valve that allows water to flow through the evaporator coil. So yeah, I've worked in multiple nursing homes and retirement centers, and I've never seen that before, like ever. Like they keep those places pretty clean, like, and they have air scrubbers and media filtration and UV lights and all sorts of stuff because it's an old folks home. They have to have better sanatorial, like, so they have to have better sanitary needs for each of the residents that are there because they're more prone to being sick. You know what I mean? So they just can't have it all that freaking dead skin and all that stuff just floating around in the air.
I lived in a house in my teens that was up in Maryland. I think it was built in the 19 teens, and it had vermiculite in the attic, probably mixed with asbestos. But
Yeah, because that house is really old. That house is really, really old. And like back in the day, if you had houses like that were built in the early 1900s or like 1800, they have houses that are like that for like here. Those houses when they were purchased, and they had to put HVAC systems in them. They really like what you're supposed to do is gut the entire house, take out all the old insulation, take everything out, and make sure that there's no like structural um, beefing and stuff like that. Because what's the point of having this house from the 1800s if it's like ready to crumble because of termites or something like that? So yeah,
Oh yeah, this house was in pretty good shape. It didn't have any ductwork in it. The furnace, they put a giant furnace in the kitchen to replace like wood stoves, and they ran the ducts like it had like 9 foot ceilings, and so they just ran them in the hallway at the top of the ceiling to go to each of the rooms, and it was they called it good, and then it just had a window air conditioner in some of the rooms, and that's pretty much it. Uh, Later on, we ripped out the furnace and got like a third more kitchen space, and they just put like electric baseboards in, which is pretty shitty because the house wasn't insulated very well.
yeah, that's like the main thing. Is like with flip some. Oh, okay.
They gutted it. This house had beautiful old fixtures, beautiful old trim, all wood, all original doors inside, real panel doors, and someone just ripped it out and made it modern and ruined it. We own a house we rent to a friend in Southwest Florida that it was built in 1924. It has one of those attic fans in the hallway that just sucks air from the house and blows it outside. It's the house is basically a fancy pavilion.
Yeah, whole house attic fans are really good. Those are for like areas like that, like let's say that it's like 100 degrees during the day and the temperature drops to like 75. You turn that bad boy on and open up all the windows, you'll drop the temperature in the house like really, really fast. And then you can use the outdoor air to condition for your for the air quality inside the home for you to do that. Just because most homes they actually have 5 times the air pollution than the outdoor air that we breathe in, like when we're outside. So if you're inside your house and you notice that you're having like you have really bad allergies, but when you step outside everything's good, you may want to consider like getting like an electronic air cleaner or like some sort of air purification system or like a UV like air filtration system for the house to kind of help mitigate some of those things. Um, yeah, there's a lot of different things that you could do for air quality, but for the main part, those whole house fans, they work really, really well. And then you couple those with some solar powered attic fans that have like a temperature control on it. So like if it gets above like 110 in the attic, they kick on and exhaust all that heat out of the attic. Dude, you can make your house really efficient.
Yeah, this is a really old house, so it was built before there was AC. So having wraparound porches and a giant attic fan to suck air through the windows and open doors was pretty much the best they could do. So I'm in the middle of trying to get a build started for a kind of rare down here in Hacienda, Florida, a passive house level system where
Well,
with a ERV for the fresh air.
yeah, well, what you can do is if you look at those mini split units, the ductless units, you can get one for every room,
Yeah,
depending on if it's an exterior wall, or you can even have someone. You could do a multi-head system, whether it's which it's a VRF.
yeah. I was planning on doing the mini splits because they're so efficient, but the architects down here don't know energy efficiency at all, and they're like, oh, you don't want to do mini splits. I'm like, well, I think I might actually want to do them. We could hide them in different places, and there's some you can put up in. They don't have to be on the wall. Um, but yeah, they wouldn't know energy efficiency down here in Southwest Florida if you landed a house on them like a witch.
Yeah, and it wouldn't really matter. I mean, so like, how big is your house?
The one I'm planning to build,
Yeah.
probably 2,500.
2,500 square feet.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty modest.
if you're planning on doing that, I would just go with like a. So personally, you're in Florida, so it gets pretty fucking hot and humid over there. I would go with two systems. A 5-ton system, it's gonna be like sized perfectly for your house. So like that's the biggest that you can get for residential. So if you go with like 1 5-ton, when the temperature is like around like upper 90s to over like 100 and whatnot, like it gets that temperature over there. So when the temperature is like that and with the high humidity, once it starts reaching over 100, the systems they'll start to tend to struggle a little bit just because they're going to be considered a little undersized. So like a good rule of thumb for like basic troubleshooting or anything like that is about like 400 square footage of cooling per tonnage. So if you have a 5-ton, that puts you at 2,000 square feet. Well, we have an extra 500 square feet that we need to cool. When they build your house, it's going to be pretty energy efficient, right? But we're going to pretty much
That's
be
the plan.
maximizing. We're going
Yep.
to be pretty much maximizing that unit for like basic weather. So if you were to go with 2 units, like let's say a 3-ton upstairs and a 3-ton downstairs, you have like an extra 1 ton of cooling to kind of play with when the temperature gets above the average national temperature that they make these systems at, which is like 100 degrees. They don't really
Yep.
cycle in like over 100 because it's rare that the entire nation is at over 100 degrees, which
Yeah,
um,
our climate down here is a little different. We don't when everyone else is 100, we actually never usually get above like 98 because it's so humid. It would rain first. It would just rain first. So and then it would cool everything off. It's kind of regulated in that way. Um, but really it's like getting really airtight doors and windows and over insulating. And the problem sometimes becomes
you get too
you
much
need
humidity.
supplemental dehumidification. Every house down here should have it, and none do.
Yeah, so like with that, you can actually get yourself a system. Like they sell these Carrier Infinity Green Speed systems that are variable speed units. If you were to install one of those in there, it has built-in dehumidification that will ramp down the system, and you can actually set the parameters on the thermostat and everything for that to do it on its own. So you don't have to get a separate dehumidifier. You could just use a dehumidifier on the system itself. A lot of people get standalone dehumidifiers because they don't get the unit that has dehumidification inside of it, or the company that's installing it doesn't understand how to even set that up.
We have issues down here in January or February where we might get a wintertime rain, and it's not hot enough to get the air conditioner to even kick on, and so usually the dehumidification still doesn't work unless the temperature threshold isn't met.
Yeah, so that's
And
so every air conditioner has natural dehumidification functions, but that is only going to keep the system probably around like 55 to 65%, depending on if it's actually running. So when it's not running, when the temperature is really cold outside, you'll need your system to have on a thermostat function that can keep the humidity within a certain temperature or within a certain degree. So like let's say that you want to keep it at 55%. Then when the system's off on a traditional system, the humidity is going to naturally go up because there's nothing to keep the humidity out, and the thermostat's only going based off what the temperature is and not the humidity. But if you get a higher efficiency system, the thermostat has a a humidity sensor, which is like a psychrometer. So it has like a psychrometer sensor that's on the thermostat itself, and then it has a thermostat built into it, and then it'll be able to regulate the temperature on its own and then the humidity on its own. But the sweet thing about these systems is that when the system first kicks on, if it notices that the humidity is pretty high, it'll actually run in a low speed for a while before it kicks in that high stage to kind of like finish it off. So it's going to dehumidify the system and cool the house at a more even pace, and it's going to be more efficient. Also, because you also have functions on it called like low ambient cool, meaning that if the temperature is low outside, it's still going to kick on to run. And those are things that you could do for those specific systems.
yeah, my only other concern would be that I want to have an ERV, but it can be so humid here that even the ERV's humidity removing it takes some of the humidity out of the air coming in and puts it into the waste air stream going out. But there's still some humidity that gets in, and I might have to do an inline dehumidifier on the incoming air just to keep it below a certain threshold so that it's not overtaxing the rest of the system.
Yeah, and you don't really have to do that. You could actually add a fresh air damper to your system, and you can actually control how much fresh air that you want going into your house.
So these passive houses, they usually have 24/7 fresh air systems with the ERVs because they're built so airtight. They're like a balloon so instead of relying on old construction with like everything's naturally leaky, you stop the leaks, but then you bring in air through a thick filter in a very controlled way.
Yeah, we have those here. They're like the Austin Green Energy homes. They have spray foam ceilings. They have like R26 in the walls. Like they have, the insulations. Like the houses are super weatherproof. But with the amount of fresh air that's coming in the system, coming in through the ductwork, and if you're coming in and out of your home all the time, you shouldn't have an issue with it. I mean, that's the thing though. If you put like a constant fresh air, you're gonna have constant humidity coming inside the house, and even though the dehumidifier is going to do all it can, it's not going to be able to remove all the humidity no matter what.
Yeah,
There's nothing turning it off.
The ERVs have a porous membrane, so they can do some humidity transfer, because it has a heat exchanger in it, and the humidity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that people don't realize that, when your doors are closed, some of these systems have a CO2 sensor because if extra people come over your house, the system has to kick on high. But we're talking about these are systems, and these passive houses are super airtight. They're like toilet flush airtight, where you slam a door and the toilet flushes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've worked on those too, but I've had to decrease the air ventilation times on these systems um, because it was getting really when we had really hot sticky months. The house, it was showing 72, but it felt like it was like 78 in the house because all the humidity was just staying inside the home. They had no way of removing it, so I had to like either disable the stuff altogether or turn it off at the fresh air ventilation controller. So but yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. I mean, there's they even have like an April Air fresh air ventilation controller that has its own thermostat that you can monitor everything from, and it even controls the system. I don't really like those personally, but some people prefer those over other things.
I think I monopolized the space with the HVAC talk long enough, but it's nice to let Mr. Roger do his thing instead of just partying hard and doing cake stands or whatever you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, bro, exactly. Finally get to talk about my profession. Appreciate you.
Right now, I'm trying to find out how to get sponsored by SquareSpace, the actual company. Hey, SquareSpace, we have a show. Oh, yeah? What is it? It's called the SquareSpace. I'm listening. Let's see.
Were you just taken over by Dan?
I think it's hard not to be influenced by him,
I think for Squarespace, you'd have to use their product to make your website for your what do you call it, syndicate first.
Yes.
Then keep tagging them. Yeah.
Yes, that's a good idea. Let's see, who is this guy? Ryan Stansky, Dallas, Texas. Oh no, he's no longer at Squarespace. He's now at Tinkergarten. Interesting. So who is at Squarespace? I wonder if Squarespace is well, why don't I just invite them into the space and ask them?
Yeah, just invite everyone in their top executive list every single time and keep tagging them over and over and never say anything bad about them.
I have. Okay, so I just started following them. I'm going to ask SquareSpace if they sponsor Twitter Space podcasts. Because I know they sponsor podcasts.
You know, you might get the opposite effect where they don't like the fact that you're using Squarespace, and then you get a cease and desist.
And that's fine, right? They can say, hey, you don't want me to use it? All right, I'll change it to the Digital Mercenary podcast and we'll keep moving.
Just add a D after square and make it squared space.
Or you could do like Nathan Fielder did and just call it not the Squarespace. Let's see if I can invite them in. You know when your phone gets like super slow and it's like chugging along? All right. Invite to join space. That'd be fun, right? All right, Mr. Raj, what's the pitch? It's all on you now.
What are we doing?
Oh, I invited Squarespace to join us.
Dude, who the hell's Squarespace? Who's Squarespace?
Sorry, I have to rug myself for a sec. Squarespace is a company. They're like Wix or WordPress in that they help you make websites.
Just put a D at the end, the squared space.
That's genius. You guys came up with the same idea at this one after another. What are the fucking odds of that? What do you think? I guess it is modelable, but that's pretty interesting.
I mean, you look at it, and it's the second thing that comes to mind when.
I don't know. I don't take that. It's an interesting coincidence, I think. Right? If I had to change the name, I thought of something else because of the Substack that I had. You guys thought about the D. Like, I bet a lot of people might think, what about the circle space? What about the platonic
I'm a low
solid
effort
space?
person.
Say again?
I'm a low effort person. Adding one letter is the easiest.
Right.
Easiest.
Right.
You could also make it like change the spelling and make it Squire space, but that's a whole other thing.
Well, what about Esquire? S-square?
No, I have an idea. Why don't we just put the squared symbol at the end of space, and that solves it. We just put the component two.
Shit.
There we go, bro. I got you.
Crowdfunding, crowd logoing, crowd preventing you don't get sued by Squarespace. See, I like it.
You could just literally put a square, like whatever the Unicode for a square is.
Yeah, but what do we do for people that can't see it?
I guess they better upgrade.
Upgrade their eyeballs, like, because they're blind.
Oh, I thought you meant because their tech is antiquated; it doesn't support the character
No,
set.
I'm talking about like blind people. Like, how they're gonna know what a square looks like?
Well, no, when their thing reads it to them, it's going to go like, I don't know. Does it have a text to speech for all Unicode?
Dude, I have no idea. Oh, it might say like square symbol.
what's really bad is my wife was doing some kind of audiobook thing, and it was using a computer voice to read the story to her because she was multitasking, and it's some kind of like translated Asian drama for women thing, and it would start reading like at symbol, at symbol, at symbol, or hyphen, 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 hyphen. It was just because the writing was, it was in the writing, and it doesn't know how to edit.
Has she ever tried? I'm using an Android. What I do is after I write an article, I will go to the article and then just say, "Read this out loud," and it'll just read it.
The problem she was having was it was a proprietary audiobook type thing for short stories, and it was using, I think, maybe a Google API to do it built in, so it sounds like Google's old voice, more like a robot. So there's no inflection, and it's the built, because she would have to like copy the text out somehow and then have it done outside and brought back into a different program. I don't think it even does that, and she's not that sophisticated anyway. But the worst thing about it was that there were hard returns, and every time there was a hard return, it would pause in the middle of a sentence over and over again. I told her, just put headphones on. I can't take this anymore, because it was, I kept wanting to insert words into the gap in my mind. Yeah, the new systems do a really good job, but the old one, it was like da 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 da, like www dot da dot, and then it would go like, and then they had a nice day and went down to the river and skipped stones into the water